wanted to say was that you may take notes if you feel like. We will give you a copy of the slides as well as a copy of this presentation, which will be recorded. And so don't panic if you don't get every single word. I see we do have a question coming in on the chat, and Alan will come and monitor this for me as we get started. Okay, Chantal says thanks. Okay, perfect. So first of all, welcome to the EIR program. Alan and I are very pleased to be facilitating this program on behalf of Professional Engineers of Ontario. And that little swoopy person that you see there, that is the EIR logo. So as far as all of you have given up your time on a Saturday, and we really do appreciate that. You've taken time away from your families and your other hobbies and your downtime. We want to know what success is for you in terms of today. When you leave here in a couple hours, what is it that you want to have accomplished, or you want to know or understand or have in your possession that you don't have right now? And we're going to be high on audience participation, so I'm going to get you to start talking right now. What are you hoping to get out of today?
A clue.
A clue. Okay, I like that. Expectations are low.
One is what is the overall vision of the organization, what is it about?
Great.
And the second, what can we do to help achieving this vision and this goal in our religion?
Okay, so the role of the EIR in the vision.
What can we do to, in our own volunteering piece to help that?
Beautiful. No, you're good.
What resources do we have?
What resources?
Very good.
Okay. You're Kelly, sorry.
Along with resources, like concrete supports in terms of lesson ideas, actual hands-on tasks, age grade appropriate.
Great.
And they're bringing to the Ontario curriculum.
Oh. There's the teacher right there.
Well,
First thing in the
ultimately, we're
morning.
held responsible for that. So we need to ensure that we are delivering the curriculum as
Thanks, Ben. Howdy. Oh, sorry, I thought you gestured. Good thing I'm not an auctioneer. Anyone else?
What the outcome is that the teacher, my counterpart, expects, and what the principal expects as well from the program.
Great. So as you can imagine, those answers are going to vary, and we will point you down the path of figuring that out.
I was wondering if there was an intended community connection. You say in your agenda that this is your community. How can we involve parents who are also in the field of engineering into this program? I think that makes it more community-based and real.
I guess.
Yes, at the back.
One of the students and who becomes a life group. Who owns that?
Uh-huh.
Does the school have any claims on it, or is it student?
Who owns the IP? Get into that. Thank you.
So when we look at the reference ideas online, most of the activities are for older kids. Then how much are we expected to do for JK, and grade 1 students, for early age students? Like, do we have more reference than what's online now? More ideas?
So K to 2 activities for younger students.
Yeah.
Right.
What's our objective?
Objective. We say that's kind of the same thing as the vision.
The objective is, I'd say, it's more focused.
Very good.
I would like to know different implementation models in the whole school setting.
Great.
And what are we supposed to be imparting to students? I'm not still too clear on that.
Okay, fantastic. Timeline, then I'll take 2 more. Yeah.
How to run an effective seminar with the students or workshop.
Tips on how to run a workshop?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my goal would be to infuse the sort of engineering design process we'll do throughout the day, throughout the grade, and throughout the curriculum. So it's not just viewed as a workshop.
These are things we already do. Right. That's pretty easy for a teacher to do that.
So how to integrate engineering thinking into the educational models that you're already doing. I like that. Meta design. Fantastic. Okay, so we really appreciate having these ideas. I'm going to check and see if there's anyone on the chat who wants to contribute something. I can hear Erica, but not the others in the room when they comment. Okay, fair enough. People need to speak more loudly. Sorry about that, people on the line. We will send you a photograph of the capture that we just did. I was recording it on Post-it notes, so you'll be able to see what the goals for the day are, and you will have a chance to throw in some of your own thoughts later on. So another thing that we wanted to let you know that we've done, we got to know some of our EIR candidates a little bit during the interview process, some of the information that they provided us with about what they've done and their motivations for getting involved with students and with the community. And we placed it on what we're calling sort of a wall of fame, a kind of a this is your community, mostly because we were just so really impressed and inspired by the dedication that everybody's showing to giving back to students and inspiring the next generation. So if you want to have a look and see some of the examples of things that people have done, maybe you'll recognize some of your own accomplishments on there, and you're welcome to add extra things that you're doing that you feel are really meaningful to you in terms of inspiring the next generation. So there's a little interactive activity on the way to the coffee or the bathroom that you can chip in with. Sometimes during meetings and things, people have a parking lot where you put issues that you'll park till the end of the day. Being a little more environmentally friendly, we have a bike rack instead. You'll see we've got a couple of things that we will discuss with you probably around the end of the day. If throughout the day questions or things come up that we're not able to answer during today's session, we do have a fairly packed agenda. We promise we'll come back to them either at the end of the day today or we'll follow up with you afterwards to make sure that you get the information that you need. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Alan, and he's going to take over the presentation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alan. I'll be your second person today. Sorry.
Online engagement. Online engagement.
Sorry. Oh, okay. So. Oh, okay.
Just speak into the computer.
Great. So for online engagement, we do have a concurrent webcast going on right now. And so as you all are here, there's also people on the web from other places in Ontario watching this at the same time. This will also be at the same time recorded, so you can view this at any time if you want to remember something from the session and so on. We'll provide the link afterwards. Okay. We'll be on Twitter as well, and if you want to tweet, this is mostly for the people online, but if you want to tweet while this is happening, feel free, #PEO, so that the PEO knows what we're up to. That's Professional Engineers of Ontario, who sponsor this program and run this program, and #EIR. And afterward, after the events of today, we'll be asking for a little bit of feedback for the quick survey along with all the presentations and materials, so we'll provide that afterwards in an email. Great?
So Alan, we did the objectives, just in case you didn't notice. They're captured here, and I'm going to tweet this out so everyone online can see it as well.
Great. So today's agenda, breakfast. We already had that. Oh, some of you, if you don't know, there is breakfast, there is coffee in the kitchen down the hall. 9 to 9:30, introduction. Then we're going to break a little bit for everyone to sort of get their bearings, especially those of you who just arrived. A little bit of mingling. If you want to find your teacher match, do so then. They might be in this room and you might not recognize them. Or if you've already met with them, feel free to talk a little bit about your goals for today on a personal level or anything like that. Then we'll have a breakout group. So the first breakout group, we'll split this room up, and some of us will go into the room over there, or possibly outside into the office, and we'll be talking about messaging for engineering. What's that? Talk about it. Breakout 2, breaking down disciplinary silos. This is a great one. This is basically about how we can break down, engineering is a very, some people feel it's a very siloed profession. It's very insular. How do we get that engineers to get talking with teachers and sort of relate that way? Breakout group 3 is designing the EIR's involvement in the classroom. So that's really your actionable item of the day. That's why we put it at the end of the day. You can start, if your teacher partner is here, you can start working on a couple of things. If they're online, we'll connect you with them online and you can chat with them. Or if you just want to take down notes and bring it back to your teacher match or your engineer match, that's great too. We want you to take something home with you. Start planning if you haven't already. Use the information that we've given you today and try and build your year around that. Then lunch. Great, we have lunch on the way. Yum. And and after lunch, we will wrap up and do a little bit of review, and we'll also take a look at our bike rack. And I'm so sorry.
Okay,
there are
that's
more
all
people
right.
downstairs.
Look at that, seamless transition. So as you might know about the EIR program, it's a very innovative. We don't know of anywhere else that officially does this on a really regular basis in Canada. As far as the provinces, it's an innovative, a volunteer-based. It's only thanks to the volunteers that any of this is possible. We know that at the elementary and high school level, there isn't really an engineering class. There isn't an engineering subject, but we've got STEM instead, which is sort of the broader disciplines. And we really want to make sure that kids, not everyone's going to want to be an engineer, not everyone should want to be an engineer necessarily, but we do want to make sure that everybody feels that they're welcome and that they don't rule it out based on bad information. We want to really give them as accurate a snapshot as we can of all of the possibilities that exist through an engineering career. So this began, there's really quite a good story if you want to check out the website later on, the About section of the EIR website. How many people have been on the website, by the way? EIR.ca? Okay, pretty good. Excellent. We will be updating it as we go, looking to put even more relevant content on it. But there is a really good story about how they decided they wanted to create a special relationship between engineers who often don't have the opportunity to speak directly to teachers, to educators that are on the front lines of influencing our youth and the students themselves. So it's open to PEngs and EITs, which obviously all the EIRs in the room would fall under one of those two categories. For the teachers in the room that might not know the difference between a PEng and an EIT, EIT stands for Engineer in Training, which means that that's someone who's gone to an accredited engineering program, but they have not yet officially achieved their license to engineer. Alan, for example, is an EIT. I am a PEng because I've gone through the required experience and exam training. So there you go, little bit of education there. The EIR program is offered free of charge, so we're very proud of that, and we're really glad we get to work with so many schools across Ontario. And the EIR is the flagship education program of PEO. I'm just going to check on this chat question here while Alan takes over the presentation again.
Hi. Sorry about that, everyone. So just a little bit of context for this picture here is that this is an EIR, one of our very veteran EIRs. He's been doing it for many years now. And this is actually happening in a museum, so they've actually brought their program into a public space and with activities for children and so on. Yeah, it looks like they're having fun. They're learning about something to do with water. if anybody knows that activity, let me know. Water in a box.
Studying gravity, maybe.
Great. So EIR by the number. So as I said, that was one of our very experienced EIRs. The program actually began in 1998, so it's quite an established program. It started in Toronto schools, and then by 1999, it grew to 14 schools. Expanded in 2002 to involve community engagement, which I am personally a fan of. And as I said, they went to local museums and science centers as well, so it wasn't just in the classroom. And so maybe if you have that as an idea, as an engineer, as a teacher, we could have that in our third breakout session, start talking about those ideas. By 2011, it was 80 schools. By 2013, 2014, so last year's school year, it was 90 schools. And this year, by our count, at this point, as of today, it is 81 with a few more things being worked out. So that number will actually grow by, let's say, December. We've actually received a lot of applicants this year on the engineering side as well as the school side. There are more engineers who want to take part in this program than there are schools. So we are contacting more schools to try and increase our increase our footprint in Ontario. These engineers are excited to do this, and we don't want to not get them involved if they want to.
Are you finding it a challenge connecting with schools and school boards?
Yes, yeah, quite a bit. There's a lot of back and forth. Teachers are very, very busy, and we're doing it by email. We don't really want to go, cold calling a school out of nowhere. We're trying to find connections, either through the school board or so on. It is.
Question: can there be more than one engineer
in a school? Yes, there can be more than one engineer at a school. In a classroom, I think one engineer for an entire classroom is good. Two is maybe, kind of like greedy. But if a school would like 2 engineers for 2 classes, we have that in certain instances already in our program. So yeah, that can be arranged. Might take a little bit of negotiation when it comes to the school, which teacher gets which engineer and so on. And we can also facilitate that by looking at the experience of the engineer, what their expertise is, and then seeing, what the teacher is involved with. Are they a tech teacher? Are they a physics teacher? And so on. So yeah, that can be arranged. EIR by the map. This is our map. This is actually a map of just our new engineers and schools. As you can see, we've reached all the way up to Thunder Bay, Sudbury, Ottawa, down here in southern Ontario, and this is the GTA, the big old fence there.
That's Meaford there.
That's Meaford, yes. Hello. So as you can tell, it's quite a wide area that we have impact on, and we definitely are looking for engineers and schools in rural communities. That's one of our big challenges there. There's an imbalance at times. There might be an engineer interested but not a school, and sometimes it happens the other way around. So while we might have the same amount of engineers and the same amount of schools, it just doesn't work geographically. But we're working on it, and we will continue to after this orientation. Faces of EIR program. So these are more faces. As you can see, they're wearing their EIR t-shirts. This is, again, a museum event, so all the EIRs in that community gathered together for this one event, in addition to their program at their local schools. Looks like they're having fun. And that's kind of what we want. We want there to be a community. That's part of the reason why we have this orientation online, but especially in person, so that, we get to, know each other and understand on the engineering side why we're all here, and then on the teacher side, why we're all here, why this program is important for us. And yeah, here's a couple of reasons why people are participating. They want to see energy. They want to see energy from the kids. They want to promote STEM. I think that's one reason why we're all here. Having kids celebrate and cheering about the stuff that they built. Just doing something with your hands is always great, and to get that feeling of accomplishment once your end product is there, that feels great. Engaging discussions to everyday problems. That's one thing that we're going to be talking about today. The modern world has a lot of problems, it has a lot of challenges, and it's something that engineers are they're there to solve. So why not get students engaged in this process while they're young, and in that way they can see sort of maybe the path that will lead them to a career in solving these problems. Let's see here. getting students excited about technology. So they use it every day. They're on their phones, or I'm on my phone. Stuff. It's something that we use every day. But let's get people excited about technology in general. It's not magic. There's a lot of hard work involved in developing these projects. And maybe kids want to know about that. Kids want to know how to create an app, the next big app, the next big website, or the next bridge, or LRT, or subway, or what have you. They want to know how these things are done and all the hard work that it takes. So let's let them know about it. And I guess lastly, finding ways to break down concepts. So stuff like my previous example, like a phone, may look simple on the outside, just looks like a box with glass on it that you touch and do that. But there's so many components involved, and so many things that are physical. There's programming. There's electrical engineering involved. Let's look at things as a whole and break them down, and then show how broad engineering and technology can be.
All right. So I think this is where we envisioned that we would just take a minute, turn to the person beside you. You can talk about why you wanted to get involved with the EIR program. Do these reasons resonate with you? Did you have another reason for getting involved for EIRs? Why did you volunteer? For teachers, what were you hoping to get out of the program? And what is it that you see could happen now that you've had a chance to start thinking about it here today? Just a couple minutes, chat amongst yourselves. You can hear me do that. All right, very effective. We can follow instructions here in the room. Okay, thank you everyone. I can feel all the enthusiasm in the room here today. We're just about to move into the next piece of the presentation, but before that, Alan and I wanted to take the opportunity to officially introduce ourselves. My name is Erica. As I mentioned, I'm a PN. I have a background in manufacturing and mining, where I specialized in continuous improvement in Six Sigma. I have a Six Sigma black belt, if that means anything to any of you. I graduated from Queen's University about a decade and a bit ago, and now I'm based in Waterloo. And I've been working with Engineers Without Borders for about 2 years now, and I also have a couple of other side projects going on. So I wasn't sure until about 5 or 6 years ago that I even was supposed to be an engineer. Despite having gone through the education and worked in industry for about a decade, I really wasn't sure if it was the right place for me. But I found, after I took some time off, really started to reflect on it, I realized I wanted to use my skills, use my analytical skills that I learned in school to help make the world a better place. And when I started to trace it backwards, I realized right back to, when I was 8 years old and I didn't want to put the dishes away and I wanted to invent something to put it away for me. Aha, that might have been my first clue that, maybe I didn't look exactly the way, an engineer was supposed to look. I wasn't putting things apart and taking things apart and putting them together necessarily, but I really did have that engineering fire in me the whole time. So that's a little bit about me. Alan, do you want to do your mini bio?
Once again, I'm Alan. I graduated with a degree in automotive engineering at UOIT. Some of you don't know where that is. It's a new school. It's not U of T. That's something I have to explain every single time. It's in Oshawa. Oh, it's a school in Oshawa that specializes in automotive as well as nuclear, because they're out where the power plant is. So with my automotive degree, I've actually worked for a couple of car companies in a head office capacity. I'm based in Markham or around here. I'm actually at the office a lot, at this office. My EWB experience goes back about 5 to 6 years. I was my university chapter president. I was involved with a bunch of different things, and that eventually led me to this job, which I just started, and I'm liking. Today's pretty encouraging. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Why did you want to be an engineer?
When it comes to being an engineer, I still don't know if I want to be an engineer.
They're test case right here.
So for me, getting into the automotive sector and getting an automotive degree had to do with my concern for the environment. I wanted to go into university and learn about electric cars, about hybrids, and so on. And I did a little bit, and I also got that experience in the automotive industry. I do want to end up somewhere for a car company, but I'm thinking that maybe I want to go to more of a government side of things, more of a, we'll see. And if any of you have any tips for me as a young engineer, feel free to talk to me or yell at me and, get yourself together. Okay. All right, that's me.
Great, thank you, Alan. So together, we are the dynamic duo. We're known as the Engineers of Tomorrow team. So just a quick background on us, EWB, Engineers Without Borders Canada, for those of you that didn't recognize the acronym right away. We started within Engineers Without Borders Canada in 2007, dating back and doing classroom outreach for a while at that time. Right now, we've sort of relaunched ourselves. We were called Global Engineering Outreach for a little while. We've relaunched ourselves as Engineers of Tomorrow because we feel as though that's really putting a really fine point on what we're trying to do. We want to inspire the youth of today to grow up and become the innovators and game changers and problem solvers of tomorrow. So we think that there should be more diversity in the engineering profession. There should be a greater ability to learn from our failures, speak openly about that, to innovate effectively, and solve the most important problems of the 21st century. So it's not technology and invention and incremental improvement for its own sake. It's really towards something that we all can collectively believe in. So we believe in the power of great engineering outreach to shape the future, and that's why we do it. We don't just want to send you off on your schools and have you do a little bit of activity, have you do a little cute activity and everyone has fun and goes home. We really believe this is an investment in the future. So we take it seriously, we have fun, but we have a lot of heart and a lot of passion for the change and the influence that we're creating through this work. So hopefully you share our enthusiasm for that, and you can see that by working with youth, we're also working to shape the public's perception of engineering. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but we don't think that it's not a very sharp picture, and it's often not a very accurate picture. And so we really are doing something, you know, you'll forgive the hyperbole so early in the morning. We really think we are shaping the future through the work that we're doing. So we're really thankful to be able to partner with engineers, with PEO to be able to do that. So if you want to learn more about what we do, it's EOT, Engineers of Tomorrow, ewb.ewb.ca. So a little bit about Engineers Without Borders in general. This, thank you, Alan. So these were the co-founders, George, our CEO, who actually just stepped down, and Parker. They were engineering grads. He was from the University of Waterloo, and they had this crazy idea that engineers should be able to use technology to help people improve their quality of life around the world. So at that point, their focus was very much around using technology. And as throughout the whole history of the organization, they pivoted, if you will, in 2012 to say we don't just want to work on technology. For example, we don't want to just go into a village and drill wells. That's not actually where the problem is. There are lots of organizations going in and drilling wells, and people still aren't having sustained access to clean, potable water. The system is actually failing to support those wells. For example, we don't have mechanics that are trained. We don't have local governments that know where to find and maintain and put the wells. So right now, and again, there's tons of information, if you care to check it out, EWB, about us. So it's not just about solving the specific problem, it's about using a wider systems perspective to understand what needs to change. So Alan actually just gave a beautiful example of that. He said, when I was younger, I wanted to work on the electric car, and now he says, actually, I get there's more than one way to solve, you know, or help solve the problems in that system. Maybe I want to go work on transit instead. Maybe that's a better solution. Not really better or worse, just different pieces of the puzzle. So wanted to take that away. We really see that we're working to change a system. And we know that over the years, engineers have identified mostly the technology at the beginning. Very quickly, you know, around the Industrial Revolution, it became clear that it was morally unacceptable to injure and kill people in order to make stuff. So our mandate widened a little bit to include safety. A little more recently, we've started to see that it's really not sustainable to keep using our resources and continuing to sort of pollute and do other things in ways that are economically and environmentally unsustainable. So the engineering role has sort of grown more complex as our world has gotten more complex. And what we see with a term that we call global engineering is really starting to understand that we're all so interconnected now. Looking at global social implications in the way that, much in the same way that the technologies that we create as engineers will affect people's quality of life, we also have the ability to shape the world in a broader way as well. So because we're all about serving our world, I think we all take that responsibility pretty seriously. We're supposed to take care of people and look out for their best interests. Technical knowledge is required, as well as the ability to look beyond that and solve real problems in the world. And there's much more than just calculus and thermodynamics required for that. So we know that as the world becomes more interconnected and complex, so do the challenges we tackle. And getting back to the kids and what we want to tell them about the profession, that there's more to it than just the math and science, that there are these other pieces of it, this responsibility and this, these values to give back and to take care of. So we think that this is such an important piece of the change that we want to see, that engineering leaders for the 21st century is one of the 5 portfolios that Engineers Without Borders Canada is working on nationwide. So the 4 other portfolios are inclusive food systems, that includes work on fair trade, adaptive public services, small and growing businesses that deliver social value, triple bottom line for Canadian mining companies. Those are sort of, remember I was saying we're trying to address the system from all angles. Engineering Leaders for the 21st Century is part of our portfolio. There are 2 other ventures working in this space. One is working on curriculum at the university level, and another one is working on, it's called an entrepreneurship fellowship for engineers working in the workplace. How do you make change within your workplace? And then obviously we get the fun part, I think. We get to talk to the kids and work with the professional associations. So that's just a little bit about Engineers Without Borders. Maybe now you can understand, you know, maybe you think, hey, don't they go to Africa? Isn't that what they're all about? Well, we actually work to create change from many different angles, and that's why we're really excited to work with the EIR program. So, yeah.
Where's your money come from?
We have various funders. We get a lot of government aid. There are some foundations as well as some paid contracts. Yeah. Was there a question over here? Oh, hey Ben, how are you? I didn't see you come in. Ben is an EWB, longtime EWB member who has done some work overseas. So maybe go chat with him about that at a break if you're interested. So we know that in this sort of profound way, engineering has the ability to shape the world and sort of imagine what it's never been. Here's why we think it's important to message engineering properly. Let's say that this is the whole population of students who could choose engineering. They're capable of it. They have the skills. They potentially have the inclination. They have the potential to be excellent engineers. Outside, maybe these are the kids that wouldn't choose engineering anyway because it's not for them. Here are the kids in this A circle here. Actually, maybe I'll use my pointer. These are the kids who would choose engineering no matter what. Maybe their family is engineering. Maybe they've already built the bridge and they got the memo. They love it. They're enthused. You walk into a classroom, those kids are going to be the ones whose eyes light up no matter what you say, no matter what you do. They're your home run crowd. Out here, like I said, outside of this circle, these kids might not care so much. They might think it's interesting, but they're probably not going to sign up. The kids that we're most interested in, and this is where the growth is, if we think in terms of sort of from a business perspective, where's the growth potential for the outreach that we're doing? It's right in here in this C section, the kids who could choose engineering, but maybe they want to be doctors because they think that that's a good way to help people. Or maybe they want to go into politics because they think that's a good way to make a difference in the world. If we were to explain that engineering is actually all about those things, it's about working with people, it's about helping others, it's about having a positive impact, we can, that's through our messaging outreach and strategy, we can widen the amount of our youth audience that will be susceptible to this message. So there's just an example, and then we have a more diverse pipeline, a more diverse group of kids coming over and joining us in the engineering industry. So don't get us wrong, we love these kids. These are great kids. We definitely want them to keep coming into the profession. But we also know that we want more diversity. And we want to keep these kids working together with these kids and understanding that you can be about building, you can be about strategy, you can be about design, you can be about optimizing. There are all sorts of different pieces and skills that fit together to make a thriving engineering profession. So maybe there are some other messages. These are the kids that are really amazing at strategy, like I said. These are the ones that are great communicators. These are the ones that are really concerned about changing the world. How can we think about, this is our marketing hat, right? We're putting on our marketing hat and saying, how can we target these different types of kids, these different audiences within our audiences to make sure that they understand that there is something in engineering for them? And the more diverse and the more skillful we get with our messaging, the more new and more diverse entries we're going to get to the engineering profession. So that, I hope I've convinced you that that is a worthwhile approach. It's worth taking some time to think about the message that we are sending out to our audiences and that the benefits, that we can experience by just telling our stories a little more differently, paying attention to the examples that we use, tweaking our script and the words that we use can really make a difference in the long term. That's our whole strategy. So I think we've ticked off maybe one or two of our items over there. We'll revisit those at the end of the day. At this point, we're going to break up. I think a few people, maybe 8 or 10 people, can go next door. And when you've had a chance to sort of shuffle around, if you want to, walk to the kitchen or the washroom or anything, please go ahead. Sorry? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah, just a couple minutes. And then we'll sit. Please have a chat with your neighbor about what you think the most important takeaways are. Do you agree with what we're presenting? Do you disagree? What are some of your takeaways from what we've said here so far this morning, and your thoughts on how you might implement it in what we've done?
And
cool.
I guess to divide ourselves up, maybe everyone sort of in the back there and going along the windows, and maybe you as well. We'll be in the other room.
There you go.
The table with
Give us a little more space.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple minutes break and have a seat and have a chat about what we've presented so far. We'll move on.
No, I'm an engineer.
And you?
Yeah, I didn't teach
You have a listing of who's here.
Alan's got that. Yeah.
I'm not sure if my counterpart is.
Don't you want us to pair up with a partner? Like
If you can, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. For the end of the day, that'll be important for now. I mean, it's good if you can, but Alan's got the list. Maybe check with him.
Okay.
Was she planning to be here? Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Well, we have a regular in the afternoon area. Yeah, then we go here and then send you it was just perfect time. What engineering
Where are they here?
Friday.
Coming Friday. Oh, wow.
Now I'm here.
I'm a water and wastewater engineer. That was
Provided innovative
One of the ministers, the school board, information to the school students. The students want to send teachers, so I can be a catch this. We ask the teacher in some schools, don't
I do water and wastewater. Yeah.
I don't think so. I checked the list and then she's not here.
No?
No.
At least you got a name.
Yeah.
It's
But have you interacted with her yet or not?
Well, not really. We just got assigned.
so we have to send out. I mean, the secondary school or
Elementary.
I'm gonna get them in there. But then
it's the way they
Are you, like, is this your first time doing this? Yeah.
Is it your first time?
It's my first time, but I want to, I want to have engineering in several different classes. Depends on the time, like depends on the month, or depends on the curriculum. Because like, I'm teaching grade 1, but like a certain concept will align with engineering, but certain concept will not. So I would rather distribute that engineering person, engineer, to some other grade level. That's what we're talking about.
So with my school, I'm doing JK at grade 1.
Yeah.
Then I'm doing 1 month JK at K, the other month grade
Yeah,
1.
yeah, I think that's the model I'm following as well.
And then they have 2 more years, one for grade 7 and one for grade 8.
I know we can't do it, so
I really don't know how to implement it at this point. That's why I was asking for it.
it's up to you.
I know, but I just want to know the recommended like implementation plans. So
So what I suggest is, I haven't talked to them. I think, for example, pick up some very simple topics there. For example, I think one volunteer for some secondary school. So how to score A in the project work. They really draw their attention. Yeah, well, it's very simple. They have to put every day or whatever. How they can get them out. It's not really such a problem. So simple because so for example, like the little future the judge to from the engineering. Some of them are very good at the order work, but some of them nobody give them any because they've got to stack so they don't take off the mark. But some of them are very good, so
But are you gonna be with the middle kids also? Like are you with grade 1 also?
I'm with grade 1, like I'm teaching grade 1 now.
Just one class or more? Yeah, with me it's more, right? Then what
I just don't want to get into the situation where other teachers complaining about, oh, you got 10 more first. And then, oh, how come? And then I got into that situation before that you have resources and we don't share.
Like with my school, we agreed that JK in grade 1, they're paying attention and it's not for 2-hour activity, right?
No.
Then we are like,
So that's why I'm trying to find out how I can implement it in grade 6 years ago.
because I'm doing like a 30-minute activity for JK in grade 1 so that I can do in other classes.
I have no idea about this. I have no idea about that. I thought maybe I'd do it in one.
And then my grade calendar where they ask for 1 year so that they can do every
Yeah, I have grade 5, 7 teacher asking for it,
But would you be, would your counterpart engineer only deal with your class? Or would he or she
I hope she will be able to deal with other classes, but her passion is with the younger kids. So I don't mind having her all year long. I would love to. I would get into the program where teachers saying that, like other teachers commenting. I have 4.
I have 4.
Grade 1. You have 4. No, I have 4 grade 1 in our school.
Okay. So there's only one. So you.
I think other grade teachers will be interested as well. So
I kind of thought that there would be a situation where you put 2 grade 1.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
my
sure, comes
school,
in.
yeah.
Once a month or
Yeah.
something.
And they do that usually when they have special activities, they do it anyway.
Yeah.
But because my school, they have 24 kids per class. Then for JK and K, I think it's 50 kids in one activity, just with one.
And that means the attention span's even shorter
It's
because the
worse.
noise level
Then
is
I
higher.
told them that I would rather do 30-minute activity and repeat 4 times
Yeah.
instead of just doing twice and not getting the activity.
Are you an engineer or teacher?
Engineer.
Oh, you're an engineer. I'm so sorry.
Engineer.
So you were talking about K to grade 2, so like, so that's why I assume you were a teacher.
So you are a teacher.
I'm a teacher, yeah.
And I'm an engineer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, the
No, see, you were talking
And I'm
about K to grade 2, and like, oh, yeah, this teacher is pointing, like, that's why I assumed, right? Yeah.
Oh, then you are a teacher.
I'm a teacher.
Oh, I thought you were an engineer.
Ah, no, so far away from it.
Well, but then with the school, what I did,
That's a good idea.
I met with the school. Then I emailed the principal and I talked about the program before they paired the class because it's my son's school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, then I emailed them and I said I'm interested and I had talked to the teacher. She said she was interested and I said if there's anyone else interested in the school, let me know. Then I gave Erica's contact. They contacted Erica directly and then they paired me with them. Yeah, that's what they did. And then I met with them last
So
week.
you know the teacher already.
All the teachers that are
Wow, God, you're so ahead of us.
because then I met with them last week. I met with one JKSK teacher, one grade 1 teacher, one grade 7, one grade 8.
Oh, see?
And then we came up that we need 2 more EIRs.
They still have some about 40 something.
Yeah, and Erica said that they have 2 more in Waterloo region that would be.
Oh, you're in Waterloo.
Yeah.
Have you done this before?
It's the first time.
Yeah, me too.
It's my first time,
So
but
which
it's
school,
I'm at Bloor Collegiate.
is it in Toronto now?
Oh,
Yeah.
you're in high school.
I'm in Brampton. Oh,
At what level of school?
oh, it is elementary.
Yeah.
Yeah, grade 4.
Yeah, grade 4, yeah.
Grade 4.
but then I
don't know,
was
so
super
it's the
cool
first time.
because like
I
I
think
have my
with those
son, she's a grade 1
I taught at
Okay.
university
and
before,
she's the one
I
who
different. I don't know.
Yeah, really.
So then
Right,
we
right,
can do 30 minutes
So,
of activity
yeah.
on each.
Guess I don't
Have
know
you
the
met
timing
with
of
the
it
teacher?
because
Yeah.
like grade 5 or grade 7.
Yeah, I
All grade 4 grade 5
Yeah, I haven't,
I was
I don't know.
I haven't met with mine yet, and she's not here. I thought she might be here. She's
So
not.
they
So
law.
I got an email out
Because seasonal and seasonal changes right now.
So what,
And then we are talking about building the structures next term. So I want engineering, system engineering in my class more than right now, right? So I have to find a way to distribute engineering into the class, right? So they can also like workshop. I know.
What turned you on?
Yeah, exactly.
Because for me,
What turned you on? Really?
And are you working
Yeah.
No, I'm
and
retired.
Yeah.
and because my work schedule is quite full, I
Right.
couldn't
So I
tell me the
just
day
looking
too
at
much.
Oh wow.
And then
I may be working again, but for now I'm not.
because as with me, it's more flexible with you
Yeah.
guys, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys have all your
Oh, yeah. 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 How long have you been teaching for?
This is my 7th.
Oh, yeah. Wow. And which grade?
I'm teaching grade 1 this year.
Wow.
First time. Yeah.
Now.
With another
Nice.
teacher.
At my class, they have the one of community helpers, the JKSA here, and I did presentation about water engineering.
Wow.
And I loved it, and they loved it. And that's why
Yeah.
Have you done this before?
No, this is first year. Yeah. All of us are first.
Three of us, yeah.
So what I did
Are you currently working in engineering?
I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the end, actually, that's my retirement end. But so far, at the moment, I'm not working. How about you?
I got the too. I
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an electrical engineer by trade, but I ended up doing software development after I got out.
Oh, is that right?
So, yeah.
In Toronto, or?
I was working for North Health.
Oh,
Yeah, we were talking about that. So, well, I first started with quality certification, and then I moved to the software development side of things. That's what I've been doing. I did for the longest time, right? How about yourself?
I'm mechanical. Most of my career is with transit buses,
Oh, yeah.
manufacturing,
Yeah.
design and manufacturing.
Design and manufacturing. Did you enjoy that?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun field.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be fun to relate it to kids. I have a high
Yes.
school. I'm messed up at a high school level.
Oh, perfect for you.
So I think kids will be able to really see those buses every day.
Yeah. That's what I was telling Alan when I told him, and I said, I know the engineering way of thinking, and I've done engineering, it was more kind of like telecommunication or whatever, but I'm not what you would call like hands-on pure engineer, like someone like you with your fantastic for the kids.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's have a seat and get started, everybody.
Here or?
Okay, everybody, we've got lots to get through, so let's try to
Sure.
jump on task here. So I know, as I said, I think I kind of ended up in engineering sort of by dumb luck. You're good at math and science, you should study engineering, is what they said to me in my high school. We all know, as we've talked about, math and science are very important to an engineer, but it is about so much more than that. And there can be this perception that engineering is science, right? And that can be really tricky to dispel. There's also, I speak to a lot of kids about engineering, and they say, what do engineers do? They say they build stuff. Okay, kind of, but what comes before building, right? We really want to try and help them understand it's about that design, that creativity, that idea stuff, as well as the technical stuff. Another thing I hear a lot is that it's about driving trains, which, that's an unfortunate coincidence of language with engines and being in trains. But, with the whole transit and ways of getting around in the future also being about engineering, I try and sort of make them not entirely wrong about that. So maybe we can just have a quick discussion as a group here. What are some other things that you've heard from kids about engineering, and how do they get these messages?
First, I think the problem with the first sentence is you're bad at science and math, therefore you should not be an engineer.
Aha.
And math is just a hammer, it's a tool. It'd be like saying, I don't want to be a carpenter because I can't lift this hammer. Or then like, I don't like the handle, therefore I shouldn't be a carpenter.
Oh, interesting.
So math is just a tool, and it's easy to learn. The thing is, you cannot put it off till you are 17. because your brain changes. If you want to really, the right way to learn math is the earlier the better.
So I'll just repeat that so everyone online can hear you as well. So Fabio's made the point here that the reverse of this message is often received as well, and it's not true either. If you're not good at math and science, you should not study engineering. That's not true either, because math and science are tools that we use, and there's no point in saying, I don't like that tool, therefore I don't want to be part of this whole thing.
Yeah,
Very good point.
The other thing we were discussing earlier is, I think that in North America, there's a strong stereotypes in plural. There's the gender bias, meaning girls should not be engineers, and there's now racial stereotyping.
Yeah.
If you are in this certain race, you should be an engineer. If not, you shouldn't be. And that's something that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the earlier we tell girls and we tell all kids that anybody can be an engineer. And in fact, you were talking about how you became an engineer. I knew I was an engineer when I was 12. It's not it's something, it's who you are. It's in your nature. And I'm sure it's same for a teacher. You know you're a teacher. It's not something that you choose. It's who you are.
Yeah.
So the trick is to allow kids who are young to recognize that if that's who you are, that's okay. You should pursue that.
So becoming an engineer is not so much a choice, but a recognition.
Yes.
Interesting.
That should not, society in North America right now teach it out of girls and many kids because they don't fit the stereotype.
Do we tell girls that they can't be engineers? Do we say that out loud?
What I can tell you is I talked about this with my girlfriend, and she said that she recognized that she had done that to her daughter. And this is something that it may be part of the girl talk. I don't know. That's beyond. I'm a guy, so it's outside my scope. I need to know my limitations. But somehow girls are getting the message that it's okay for them to be doctors, accountants, nurses, or social workers.
Yep.
And it's not okay to be engineers. And that's ridiculous.
But I think that's changing. I think that's like when my dad was in the university, like he had no girls in his class. When I went to the university, my class, we were 10% women. And now in my office, we are 50-50. Then I think the message is still out there that women can, engineering is not for women, but I think it's getting better and better. And with the EIR program, like I'm a female engineer, right? And I'm going to be out there at the schools and the kids will be seeing a female engineer. And I think that's a positive thing also, right? And maybe this concept that they have that female cannot be in engineering, by us being out there, the females also, which I think that we are not the majority here either.
Right.
But I think it's good.
Perfect.
But I think it's changing. I don't think
it may be changing. But
over to Juliana.
No, I was going to think that at least 2 programs in Toronto now they're specifically trying to start girls in Ryerson in that type of program.
That's right.
Over the summer for girls to get involved with straight electrical engineering. And Toronto do have some big type of program. But they actually let kids as young as in grade 6 come up with problems they want to work on, and they actually let the kids lead and see the different technologies that they have there and how they're using engineering to just specifically for girls.
Very cool. So I'm really emphasizing that engineering is about helping people. So there's a great website called WeMadeIt.ca. Speaking of Ryerson, check it out on your own time. I was peripherally involved with it, but it's a website created for teenage girls by teenage girls, which is very innovative and cool. So WeMadeIt.ca.
One more message about engineering. And what I hear like most of the time from the kids, engineering is too complicated.
Engineering is too complicated.
It's not for me.
Yep.
I'm not smart enough. That's like, I always hear that from the kids. And
so they're intimidated.
Yeah, they're intimidated. And that's something that when we go there, I think we should make sure that, to show that it's not complicated. It's fun. Once we show it's fun, they may be more interested.
It's not complicated if you break it down properly, right? If you try and look at the whole thing and understand it all together, then it does get confusing. But that's part of our skill set, right, is to break it down and make it not complicated.
I would refine that a bit, because what I hear is engineering is very difficult. Becoming an engineer in school is very difficult, but the message should be hard work gets you, satisfying results rather than it's hard.
Yeah.
Usually I do it in the other way. For example, I ask the kids, do you have a cell phone or do you have a phone? And majority, they say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how to this phone and how it works? Start from this kind of simple questions. And then start to explore what we do or involve of what, hardware, software, just a simple chip or just wireless. How a phone, for example, thousands of miles within can be seconds to get connected. What happens if the other side is busy and then you got to signal back? Those are very simple questions. They really draw the attention. And then I start to use my background. I started to work for long time for many years. So I, of course, depending on what they are. Even a projector, I ask them, who designed these projectors? Nothing to do with me.
Speaking of the projector, oh, I connected it.
And then how it works. For example, even a table, a chair, made of wood, but where did the wood come from? What happened to the environment? And start to have a much bigger picture.
So engineering is all around you.
Yeah, exactly. This
good one. I like that one too.
Engineering society, same the diagram you have.
Perfect.
Technology,
yeah,
and
you can use that if you want to.
Society and the engineer, this is exactly simple. We decide everything, but we face a lot of problems too. So how are we going to solve it now?
Great. Swine?
I was explaining to Mark that students don't have authentic experiences which are connected to engineering. We have no clue. Even as teachers, I myself don't have good connection between what is kind of engineering and what's not. And students not having that experience, it's really hard to connect to, what's around us. It's so connected to engineering. So that's why I brought the EIR into my school, and then they can make that connection. They can experience that. They can have that authentic experience.
Beautiful. Which
teachers cannot deliver sometimes. So
I think I love that phrasing, authentic experiences of engineering. I think that's exactly why we're here. So that's great. I'm going to run through this a little bit quicker. I Googled this last night, the stealth profession. I didn't know this, but this has been written about for decades, that engineering is the stealth profession. It's sort of like, it's one of those professions you don't hear about in the news unless something's gone terribly wrong. That's when you hear about engineering. And so the public has this sort of slightly, non-existent version, or they're underestimating or misunderstanding what it is that engineering does. I personally think that part of this is we're sort of victims of our own success in a way, because we do work in so many different capacities in different industries, different disciplines. It's very hard to say, here is what engineers do, because they do so many different things and are part of so many different technologies and inventions. And we know, statistically right now, this lack of understanding on the part of the public leads to a low number of kids wanting to become the engineers of the future. And that's no good, because we need our public to be more technologically informed and enthusiastic about getting involved. So we really feel, and I'm seeing lots of nodding heads, and we all feel that this needs to be changed. So I think really we're sort of around the same idea of we want to have lots of engineering graduates. We want them to be working well with the other professionals around them. We want to create solutions that serve the public. And the more of a disconnect we have between the two, I know PEO talks a lot about the importance of having this awareness, having this higher profile in the public eye around engineering. And our theory, again, is that when we start by defining our purpose, the importance of our work, and the diversity that we have, we talk about that, we reflect that out, and we start to create more of it for the future. So the emphasizing, so we sort of took all of this and thought of it in a very simple way. We don't just want to talk about the technology and do sort of what we call little wow factor presentations. Those are cool. Remember that A group that's on board no matter what? They love that stuff. But what about these other kids that want a little more context and a little more understanding before they're on board to caring about the technology? They want to know why. Why does this matter? Who's being helped by this? How does this play out in the world? So this is the why of that, the meaning, the values. Why did you choose engineering yourself? Telling those personal stories and being willing to bring that human side. I know we sometimes don't think that emotions are important because we're all about the facts and the calculations and things, but really expanding into those human terms, we really think it's the key to expanding the appeal of our message, making it more accessible. making it worthwhile to get into the details of all of those complex numbers and equations. I know for me, again, when I was in university, I maybe should have been paying more attention, just because the professor was in front of me giving me a math equation or something, but I really wanted to know, why do I need to know this? How am I going to use this to make the world better? So I suspect there are a few of those in your classrooms as well. So here is a little formula we want to teach you. This is the most complicated math we're going to give you, I promise. Activity. We're going to give you lots of activities. There's a big old back catalog of activities, and probably you have a lot, teachers have a lot in their drawers as well, that are well aligned with curriculum, that are really great, break off a little piece of engineering that's aligned with the curriculum, deliver it, make it fun. We're asking you to up your game by adding on the messaging, thinking a bit about what is it that kids are going to take away from this exercise. And it could be something like, wow, that's really hard. I don't think I want to do that. It could be something else. It could be like, oh, I get it. This water filter that I just built, this is exactly the same kind of water filter that we have in our house. This is why we don't get sick, because our water is clean, because of this type of engineering. This is why people around the world don't necessarily have that, connecting the dots, that kind of thing. And I know I've read a little bit of curriculum, not a lot, but I know that these are called big ideas that kids have to learn, that you want them to get across. So luckily, engineers who maybe aren't so sure how to go about identifying these messages, your teacher match is a messaging expert, I guarantee it. So we'd like to see the two of you working together. Activity plus message equals impact. And that's where we see that target audience getting bigger and bigger and bigger that you can speak to effectively. I'm just going to take a quick moment to see who's chatting. Just wanted to share that many people, including my friends and family, still don't understand what engineering roles encompass. We sit alone in the cubicle all day. We really do. We don't sit alone in the cubicle all day. We really do reach out in a collaborative team environment to affect change in a positive way. That's good messaging. The key messaging to students really needs to be driving the possibilities of what an engineering career could look like. It's a vehicle to many important roles in society. Fantastic. Thank you. Could I repeat the website? Sure, Chantel. It's wemadeit.ca. That's the Girls in Engineering website. Okay, so I think we get the formula here. Activity plus message equals impact. Bigger impact, better impact. Here's a great example. How many people have seen or participated in a bridge building workshop? Awesome. Okay, really cool to teach kids some of the basic physics and materials involved. We've got a nice sort of gamification there when you can break the bridges and give them some kind of feedback on how well they did. Great stuff. Do all engineers build bridges? No. So you want to make sure that in your messaging, you don't give that impression. There's the first thing. Second thing is, remember that kid who's the so what kid? Great, we built a bridge. So what? Why should I care? What is this good for? What is it doing for people, right? Some kids love it just because it's fun to build. Other kids might want a little bit of an add-on activity like this. This is something that one of our Engineers Without Borders chapters developed for us as an accompaniment to the bridge building activity. And it's just a basic thought exercise. Where should we put the bridge? How would that bridge affect the way that the ambulance can travel through town in an emergency? How would this affect people's commute and the amount of time they spend waiting and frustrated in traffic? There's a great example, connecting the dots with everyday life, quality of life of people, and this technology that we just built with all the right triangles and angles and materials and stuff. Questions? Comments? We're very confident you can do this.
In the activities catalog, do you have things that would be good for grade 1?
I believe so. I haven't taken, there are a few, and I think that a couple notes on that. We do encourage you to share what you come up with and what you've been able to use successfully, because we know it does take time to reinvent things from scratch. We don't want you to overwhelm yourselves as starting from nothing. And I think that there are also a lot of other websites and like outside of EIR that have similar recipes and things that you can look for. So the answer is yes, we have some, and if you need others, I would say an internet search would be a good place to start. Yes?
Do you have any suggestions of how to differentiate between engineers and other technology experts in in today's day, for example, like universities these days, they have all these youth programs.
Okay.
That are all like technology centered as opposed to engineering. So for example, for kids, some of them may not have a distinction between what is the difference between an engineer and
difference between an engineer and a technologist?
And a technologist, or even a computer scientist, or even like there's so many new fields that are being offered in the universities these days that are all kind of sound similar to engineering.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would say a couple of things to that. I think that the question for those online was, how do we help kids understand the difference between an engineering program and a technology program?
Technology-based
program, because there are so many of them. I would say, first of all, at the level that we're talking, I'm not sure it necessarily matters. I think we want to keep their door open. We want to have them taking the required prerequisites. We want to have them open and excited to working in that capacity. They'll figure it out depending on whether they have the marks, the tuition, whether they're going to a certain school. You know, there may be many, you know, factors that will allow them to find the right place for them. I think as far as the difference between an engineering degree and a technology degree, from what I understand, the engineering degree has more theory that allows you to participate in a design capacity at a sort of a broader level. The technology degree would be more relating to testing and implementing things. So I don't know if anyone else has things to if anyone else has things to contribute.
Yeah, I'm in a advisory committee at Humboldt College for robotics and automation.
Perfect.
For technology, the difference is very, very minor. A technologist can design. A technician, no.
There you go.
But a technologist can. The difference would be like the highest level. Like a technologist would have trouble designing a semiconductor, like getting into actually chip design, and they don't have all the math. But when it comes to design, like designing a machine or even a circuit board, they don't have a problem.
I think more of the messaging part is more important in this program. Like you guys deliver certain messages to students, and then they will figure out, students will figure out what kind of program they want to follow, what kind of things they will, you know, pursue. Like rather than just focusing on engineering. Like I know that you guys have a broader background to, you know, you can deliver a lot. And then that messaging, teachers cannot deliver sometimes because we don't have that background. We don't have that. Well, we have passion, but not the same passion as you guys do in that field. We need that from you guys as experts.
Perfect. And I would say something else. I think another one of the messaging objectives that we see is that engineering is a team sport. You need all kinds of people to bring a new product or invention to bear. Find your spot on the team, right? Okay, great. I'm just trying to keep up with the conversation here. That's good. Thank you. So I think now is the point. I'll tell you about the messages here for your information. Is some messages that have actually been proven. This is the National Academy of Engineering in the States. Done some great research. If you want to check out engineeringmessages.org, that is where this research is. We didn't do it ourselves, but they did, and so we believe them when they say that they tested these messages out on many, many different audiences, and these were the ones that sort of resonated. And as I mentioned earlier, with so many different disciplines and industries, we want to be truthful, but we want to be accurate. We want to be accurate, but we want to be specific at the same time. That's sometimes really tricky, given all the different things that engineers do. But here's a way to balance that, because these are true, I think, you can argue with me if you want, but these are true of pretty much any engineering role. So first of all, here's this question, and Fabio brought this up earlier about diversity. So first of all, we want to say we're here not to just make technology for its own sake, make stuff for its own sake. We're here to solve problems and help people. There are a lot of different challenges in today's world. In the 21st century, there's a diverse set of challenges. To solve those, we need a diversity of thinkers. So that means diversity of gender, diversity of cultural background, diversity of patterns of thought, diversity of, any kind of sort of human diversity that we can think of. We can better serve those populations if we have them represented in our profession. So there's a place for you in engineering and technology. There's no reason not to come right out and say that. If you want a role in this, you will find your place. Shaping the world around us, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. This is a really fun one with kids. I like to talk to them about, well, what's Look out on the street. What did it look like 100 years ago? Did we have cell phones? Did we have computers? No, of course not. And how has that changed gradually over the years? And what is engineering going to do in the next 50 years that's going to change things? I had a group of science and engineering camp kids that came up with this great list of all the things that they thought engineers were going to invent. It was phenomenal. Applying creativity and imagination to turn ideas into reality. Engineering can honestly say there was nothing, there was an idea, and then there was something with a bunch of engineering in the middle. That's pretty cool. And I think we've deliberately, I suspect that when they designed these messages, creativity and imagination were deliberately chosen because they're unexpected, right? They don't jive with the stereotype, but that's precisely why we need to use them to help them understand that it really is about creativity and bringing possibilities into reality. Finally, health, safety, and happiness. So this is about that human impact we were talking about. Locally and globally, people working for people. Radical notion. Engineers are human, and they work for people. They care about people. That's very important to understand. And engineering and technologists make a world of difference. So you'll see the inclusive messaging. Just a note there: technologists and engineering together. That's because a lot of the outreach we do is on behalf of a couple of different professional associations. And I think it's really good, when you're sitting in front of a group of kids, you use that broad messaging, it's going to bring more of them along. It feels more accessible. I think we hear technology a lot. We hear that word a lot. And so pairing it with engineering, I think is a good move. So those are the messages. And just to recap, hopefully you'll memorize these eventually. You'll sort of get them in you. Diversity and inclusiveness, shaping the future, creativity, ideas into reality, health, safety and happiness, people helping people, and make a world of difference. So we don't expect you, EIRs, I guess I'm talking to as well as teachers, don't expect you to repeat these robotically. We want you to work these into your stories and your explanations. Maybe you have a personal anecdote along one of these lines. That's perfect. Maybe you want to comment on, I work with teams of people all the time, and there are lots of people from all over the world, and that's what makes us really effective as a team. So I think we're going to skip this because we're just a little bit behind. But one of the questions that we asked you in your interview with us was, what's something that kids and members of the public need to know about engineering that they don't already? So essentially asking you to add your own ideas to these messages. Maybe we'll just have like a quick conversation amongst ourselves, and then we'll just repeat a couple back, and then we're going to go into the activity. So just take a couple minutes. What would you add to this list if you were creating, your script and really thinking on your own experiences? What is it you think that you really want the kids to know? Yeah.
To me, engineering is about a way of thinking. It's all about dealing with the analytical skills, the logical flow in life. It's more than just studying math and science. It's just how you function in your brain.
Cool.
I'm
sure some people can.
Problem solving and thinking outside the box.
Oh, good. So that really echoes with the creativity idea.
Yeah, that's the engineering.
I think I'll just make a quick comment on problem solving. I think that's an interesting one. It does potentially present engineers as kind of the people who are chasing after, reacting to problems. I think we also want to say we're identifying and framing problems before they happen. Because we're not just disaster relief workers, right? We're also, we're also anticipating and creating solutions.
That's the learning curve, actually, the disaster relief, like the alcohol and so on. That's the learning curve.
Absolutely. So engineers are constantly learning and innovating. Well done.
And look at the presentation skills.
Great.
I think
to be good at communicating.
What I'd like to teach kids is critical thinking and the scientific method. Just because somebody in authority said something works a certain way, don't take their word for it, test it. Run an experiment and see if it's true.
Critical thinking. Fantastic. Anyone else?
Yeah, I guess part of my experience has been, I've only graduated 3 years ago, but that engineering is a good base to do anything that you want to do. What we were saying is that we're losing kids to going into politics and going into journalism, but you could do engineering and then approach writing from that scientific analytical way.
That's great. So I love to use that one too, because a lot of my friends just, in my class literally have gone and become lawyers.
Yeah, the only ones that's doing engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
true.
And it's the coding method.
Did you have your hand up?
I was just going to say, like, along those lines, I think engineering is kind of anti-disciplinary. Not like, anti, like, against, and doesn't really necessarily fit into a discipline. I think it works in between the disciplines.
There's no mold.
No, and I was listening to Joey Ito, who works with MIT lab, and he was saying that he had a student come up with him one time and had this idea to use bacteria to detect sodium or something like that. And he's like, when I went to the engineering department, he said, no, you need to go up to the biology department. The biology department, they sent me back to the electrical engineering department, so I don't know where I'm supposed to go, but I have this idea that would be like kind of merge these two things together, and it just doesn't really fit into any discipline. Just in between.
Yeah. Well, ideally, those are engineers seeing an opportunity, right, and jumping onto it. We aspire to that anyway. Okay, great. So I think let's think a little bit about this in terms of an actual activity. Who are these other audiences in our classrooms that we really want to target? Remember that diagram that I had earlier, those different populations? They're not convinced by the first thing that you bring to them if you just do the straight-up engineering activities, but when you add some good messaging, we can shape our messages to communicate with these audiences, use examples from your own career, and are there any stereotypes specifically that you'd like to dispel? Maybe we can talk about that one before I hand out the activity. These are all such good questions that I don't want to take too much time. Sorry about that. Any stereotypes?
Gender and culture.
Good. Yeah.
Engineers are mean.
Socially awkward, boring.
Oh, you're an engineer, and they're like shocked that I'm able to carry on a conversation.
True.
It's important. The pocket protector,
right.
Pocket protector motif.
I know.
Yeah.
Big Bang Theory is not doing us any favors.
No.
But it's true.
Well, in a good way. Right. Okay. Yeah, I think I would agree with all of the examples that have been thrown out, and I think that the fact that engineering. I think another thing that I really strive to help people understand is that engineers have a lot of different talents. They're diverse, full human beings in themselves. They're not just problem-solving machines on a stick, kind of thing. They really do have that human dimension to it as well. So my manufacturing. Okay, Sophia's got a comment here. My manufacturing. Engineering manifesto. As engineers, we are risk takers, mold breakers, game changers, results-driven innovators. We shape the world by solving challenging problems that will benefit society. We engage in social change at the enterprise and individual level. That's good stuff. Thank you, Sophia. That's fantastic. And we communicate. We write manifestos, and yeah. Okay, so I think we also want to see, we brought up this idea of public perception of engineering. We want to educate the public. We want to have them understand what we're saying and make sure that engineering is really sort of valued. Alan talked earlier about the importance of having people understand what goes into the infrastructure that we enjoy, the products that we use all the time. The more appreciation and sort of technological literacy that people have, the better they're going to be able to relate to challenges rather than just, sort of pointing a finger at engineering when something does go wrong or doesn't work for them. They can program their PBR and they're yelling and things. Breaking stereotypes, raising awareness, enhancing the role, and getting rid of the mystery around engineering and technology. I think we all have to be willing to give up our some of the maybe there's a little bit of prestige. Maybe we sort of like not being understood. Maybe that's something that we sort of enjoy. But I think we'll all agree that it's worth it to pull back the curtain, help everybody understand a little bit more of what it's about because of the benefits that we'll gain creating productive partnerships in education and onward into the future. So National Engineering Month is a great resource. Does anyone participate in National Engineering Month already? Fantastic, I know you do. That's great. So that's going on every March. If you want to check out nemontario.ca. We're also on a couple of different social networking groups. There is an opportunity right now if you want to get involved with your local PEO chapter. Definitely encourage you to do that. There is funding even available to help you put on programs. We'll see by the time of the EIR program what we'll be doing. I think there will be some EIR related events as well. We're basically telling stories about engineering. The theme is make a world of difference. Engineering and technology make a world of difference. And so we're encouraging people to say, how are you going to make a world of difference? And talking about the impact that their work has. The Grand Challenges for Engineering are also a really good resource for you. Has anyone seen the Grand Challenges at all? Engineeringchallenges.org. These are talking about basically the biggest problems in the world and how engineers are solving them, along with technologists and scientists and doctors and all these other types of professionals. And in the interest of having the Canadian content, there's also the Montreal Declaration for Engineering, which was held back in 2009. Says engineers will take collective action on health, society, economic interests. There's sort of, it's not as colorful a list, and but it is a lot of the same as the Grand Challenges, so we use that as well. Okay, here's the activity, finally. So we do have some activities that we've printed out from the EIR workbook. We will be distributing that electronically after the orientation, and you'll see what's available. For now, I think we just want to take the time to really solidify this idea of activity plus message equals impact. So we're going to have you work in small groups, read over the exercise, and sort of talk to each other about how you could create some messaging that would make this of interest to more than just that A group that will be into it no matter what.
Do you have anything for lower grades than
Yes. We get a nice one. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Then, aim to speak. What would you like, 49 or 55? Okay. Perfect, huh?
Yeah.
Did I get it right? We got one right by accident?
Yes.
So what are we?
Yeah, what's the task here?
That's
But it's just an example.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay.
This one is okay. This is for 2-9.
Go to 9. Okay. Is it the same?
Okay, so for those of you online, you received these as an attachment to your invitation. You can go ahead and open up one of the attachments and follow along at home. Yes. Read through the activity and see how you could potentially enhance this activity by incorporating the messages. Here they are again, in case you've forgotten what they are. How could you connect some of these ideas into this activity? So you're going to explain the particulars of the activity, and then the explanation that you give is going to reinforce the message.
I guess we're going to go within the square, and we live in Toronto.
The duration is like 250 minutes. Is that like, would be divided by month, like an hour per month? Because that sounds very long. The activity duration? It sounds way too long.
I've never run this one. Let me just check out.
Yeah, it's way too long.
No, different one. Okay. Yeah.
It might be a typo.
I think probably the engineer's study.
Well, I like the idea that
Some of them before.
You can see this one is like more like a preparation time, and the actual content, like these, like 45 minutes. This is like one period. This is probably, I think, how much time you take to prepare and define it. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just preparation time. But see, like, it's like 45 minutes. Yeah.
This
one is good too? Oh, yeah? Okay, this one's pretty cool too. Like putting that like the
How
marshmallow
it
tower.
will look different by teacher offering this lesson by himself or herself, and how engineer can contribute, or how can engineer add to the lesson more, which teacher cannot contribute. I just don't know, because I've seen this lesson. It's in a grade 3 class. a teacher delivering it.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, exactly, but a very similar lesson. And she did it successfully, right?
Okay.
What value can engineer add to this lesson?
Ask your
That's
engineers,
what
what do they
I
think?
wonder.
What do they think?
Personally, I would say that giving a 3-minute primer to the kids to say strength at the bottom, lightweight at the top, triangles for stability. That's quick lessons you can tell people in 15 seconds and see if that enhances the tower they.
But don't you want them to explore the creativity part, right? Like, don't you want them to explore that option of weak stability? And then you guys can jump in. Maybe, I don't know.
But if you just like, here my child is able to tell us when they start going and they start coming,
Seeing the
hitting
problem and like,
roadblocks,
I cannot build tall, and then maybe you guys can be a consultant and saying, exactly.
Maybe before they build the tower, ask them what kind of tower have they seen before through the internet, or would they have them do a little bit research, and then ask them what kind of tower they like to see, which one they prefer, and then from the one to see one. So start with them. So they ask them to look at the internet or talk to the parents from the
That's a great idea, because what happens sometimes often with kids is that they want to just jump in and do it. And then what you want to teach them is that it's always important to plan first and then try and do, which is a very difficult thing to do for these kids, because guys do not.
I'm not sure how them to put it down to where the funding foundation and this is how the right way.
And then do a little bit of trial and error after that, like then perfect.
Sometimes you have to get the kids to do research beforehand, because you don't want it to be more of an activity in class. You don't want to add more homework, but it could be, you could still ask the question what kind of tower
But also,
around TV.
your introductory lesson, or we can carry that introductory lesson as a teacher, and that can spark, right, their interest, and then we can generate the questions. We can even ask through this experiment and asking those questions to you guys, and then some may build their knowledge much more stronger, rather than just we, like teachers, teach them, or you guys teach them, okay, you need stronger foundation, and this is how it is, and then, build up.
They have to decide what to do. They want to do the CN power, or just television power, or just whatever. There's so many kind of powers, and so they have an idea. So before they jump in, otherwise they have a low foundation.
So there's connecting it to real life examples that you might be familiar with already. What about experiences in the engineer's experience? Like maybe something they've done. If they're not a civil engineer, maybe they've had experience with a big project when, I don't know, they had to break things up into components. And, when you build a tower, you need to do the foundation properly first, or some of that basic, those basic
I think
ideas.
I have to be the thing, because if we don't, and then we let them make all the judgments, then some of them will be so frustrated that instead of being positive on the engineering side, they will not want to see engineering ever again.
But I think if we prep them a little bit, saying, okay, first, here's the tool. I think if we prep them a little bit, rather than just give it to them and expect everything to be done in one period, because that will frustrate them more. But if we prep them, say, here's what the activity is, here's what we're going to do, then they start thinking about it, right? And then you could get them to, like, it depends on their interest. They may try it at home a little bit first. Some of them who are interested really, they may research it a little bit first. And then when you come back the next day, then it's not like cold turkey. It's like first time, okay, here, come and do it, kind of a thing. That will create more success, I think.
So you want to give them the ability to create and innovate, not just follow a recipe, right? Because that way we're reinforcing this idea of thinking for themselves and design.
I think that collaboration is important. Like we know how we deliver. Like maybe I can create an introductory lesson. Well, maybe not concluding lesson, but like introductory lesson by me. So just kind of quickly introduce the concept we're exploring and just spark their interest, and then you can actually come in and do this activity, and I can do the follow up with your So like that collaboration and planning is important, rather than you just coming in with this lesson plan or activity plan and just jump in and do it, and then that's it. Like that will not make connections and good.
He will come. He will foundation. If you ask students how I would do this exercise. If a organization will tell you.
That's great. Yeah, what impact does this tower have on the people? Why are we building the tower?
And then the thinking process of how you got from A to Z and how you did it. And that's why I was saying, like, if you give them a little bit of heads up, get them to think about it, because that will teach them, like, real life skill. Like, in life, you don't show up for a project and then just implement it. There is prep work ahead of it. Like, it doesn't have to be boring prep work. But it's do that. But I find from my son's experience, I thought the most successful part of this program is the science and technology program. The most successful part of the program is that it really teaches the kids how to teach themselves. Because in this day and age, it is no longer necessary, honestly, to learn everything in your brain anymore, because everything is so accessible. But what's the most important tool that he's been learning at school is how, if he knows now, like if he needs to learn something, he does not hesitate. He knows he has the ability and the confidence to go and figure it out on him by himself. And that is, I think, is something important to inject into this program. It's to teach them that you can, there is no stopping you. Like, you know, information is plethora out there. Like, you can just do it yourself, but like, just don't be afraid.
Fantastic. Love that.
Yeah, that's our focus in education work today. Because it's all the inquiry. Like,
inquiry based.
The students question, like, and students share what they know, and students question. But sometimes I cannot share the answers, and we research together, and so we are doing more animals right now. So we are researching a lot about animals, and we conclude about the best aspect. That's our inquiry. But that questioning part, the start part, we can do as teachers. That follow-up is sometimes hard to do. So. Yeah,
that will be the analysis club. Nobody here is an expert in building towers, so we could hire an expert or we could figure it out.
Yeah.
So let's figure it out.
And that's where the analytical thinking, I'm not being afraid anymore, because you can give somebody like any piece of information, but if I have the proper tool of how to decipher this information and implement it, then honestly anyone can do anything these days.
And you guys even can provide the questioning, like less known questioning. Like, you guys have to question, you guys have to think about the solution for that. So those thinking process is important to share, because my students don't, like in grade 1, like, but upper grades even don't necessarily have those skills in how they can structure their thinking. So those can be very important for them as well. And I think,
well, I think in a similar way, we're not going to be able to solve everything here today, but we hope we're setting you up with the right tools and the right framework to have these conversations with your matches and go ahead and do this really, really well. And I think planning is a great point. I love some of the messages you brought up. We're going to capture this and share it out as well. So I think we want to have your input in this.
Just a very quick point. Do you think it will be helpful, now that we have like a community of engineers and teachers in here, to have some sort of like a whiteboard or somewhere, maybe on the website, where we can all share our experiences, or somebody is thinking about something, they can post it and somebody else can reply to it, because then we can use each other as resources.
Absolutely. Yep, I think that's great. We have a couple of suggestions for that, and so we'll talk about that when we get there.
And also it's amazing when you form the group, 3 or 4 or 5, and then the potential leader will come up immediately. You will see the leader, who is the leader, who is the follower, who will put all the talking. It will be amazing.
It's about sharing, really, I think.
Yeah.
That we can share ideas among each other. Imagine like having this table into a bigger table.
Yeah.
Virtually.
A virtual table.
Yeah.
So I like that. That's really good. So, okay, let's come back together, everybody. Do you want to have just maybe a few reflections on that exercise? What was it like taking an activity and trying to add your own messaging on top of it? Huh? George, how'd that go?
About the variations and so on. You're talking here of marshmallow and toothpicks. Well, I've experienced it myself, doing it with spaghetti and jelly beans. So you end up with a taller tower, but a more brittle tower. So you don't watch what you're doing.
Maybe not as tasty either.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts about the messages that you could put onto a tower exercise?
Well, basic messages, stability. How stable is it? If you let something overhang the foundation, it's more tipsy than if you do it the other way, pyramid
Good.
style.
So that would be one of the learning objectives would be around sort of center of gravity, some basic physics there. What about some of these messages or some of the sort of messages we're trying to convey about engineering in general?
Yeah, it's teamwork.
Teamwork's good, yeah.
Helps with that, the state structure, and make sure that it's going to provide conditions.
Solving a problem with the materials you have.
Cool, yeah.
You always follow rules. There are rules to be followed. Like, it has to satisfy certain conditions. Those are design specifications.
What about shaping the future?
Some better material and so forth. You can know the material.
Right? More advanced materials can build taller, lighter, stronger structures.
Well, we also said, why are we building a tower? We said that. Why?
Oh, I like that. Mark, can you say that louder?
I said that we had said, or Raymond had said, why are we building a tower? We want the kids to start thinking about that. What the purpose is here.
Yeah, what is the purpose? Get in the record books? Have bragging rights? It's a good question.
Why not? That's the CM tower.
What are the tower, what's the tower for? What are some of the things? I mean, they used to use it for transmitting satellite signals. I don't know if they do that anymore, but that's cool information for them to know.
You mentioned a good point about like space constraints. Like, you know, in the city, it's really hard to find a space, and then with a limited space, you guys have to work in order to build a tower, right? So like those kind of can be brought up.
You could give them some Play-Doh and make them make a city around it. That's cool.
Yeah, the tower usually has to fit in with the neighborhood you're putting it in.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah, great idea. So maybe we could say in general, a map is a good idea. Like putting something on a map oriented in real space for people.
No, I was just going to say we can even take this further and say if you could take a project like this and take what you learned out of it and implement it in any other projects that you do. It does not even have to be about a tower. If you employ the same principles of thinking.
Cool. Is that engineering way of thinking that you were talking about?
Way of thinking.
Yeah.
It does not have to be about a tower. Like I've learned from a tower of how I kind of thought about it and how I designed it and I implemented it and I went through a different
iteration.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Iteration of it. And then take that and I can design something else, or I can even like design like a cool app.
That's great. Yeah.
This is what the kids love these days.
Sure. And I love using that example as well, especially when I think, what do engineers do? They put their hands up and say they build things. I'm like, okay, great, you're really close. What comes before building? And you start to get this little map of the design cycle that helps them understand. I think that's a great lesson you can apply to a lot of different activities. Okay, fantastic. So as I mentioned to a small group here, our intention is not to give you, an activity that's totally planned for today. I think we want to give you tools and frameworks and direction, and obviously the chance for you, for those of you who have your match here, you're lucky, you have the good fortune to get started. For those of you that don't, this is maybe give you supercharged ideas in preparation for when you do get together with your teacher match or your EIR match. So we wanted to talk a little bit about how these changes in engineering that we're talking about, as far as more diversity, more ability to learn from failure and innovate and think outside the box. How does this affect people that are not in engineering? Maybe they don't even know about engineering, but they're going to be affected by it. What are some potential effects that we're going to see, and why should people besides engineers care about these changes?
Changes in engineering?
Yeah.
Like what changes?
More diversity, better collaboration between engineers and non-engineers, better ability to learn from failure, more innovation. All the changes that, when we start to talk about engineering in these different ways, we're pulling youth from different sectors of the population.
Yes.
What's that going to do for us?
Less frustration. If a girl wanted to be an engineer or was interested in inventing something and she was told, well, you really should be a social worker.
Yeah.
She won't be as happy.
Great. Just to add to that, I think that, we have, 50% of the population of Earth is female. We can't afford to be discounting the potential contributions that they can make. So we're making more use of human idea potential by tapping into a greater sector of the
better
population.
solutions, right? Because before it was just straight from one engineering point, and now when we have engineers with more human side or more artistic side, like more diversity, then more ideas.
Fantastic, higher quality solutions.
Yeah.
Very good. There's this great book that I read several years ago called The Human Factor by Kim Vicenti. He's a U of T human factors engineering prof. Brilliant. Like, he talks about disasters and why they happen and how engineering, you know, the fit between engineering, design, and society is really responsible or not for all of these things. Preventable medical errors. They talk about Chernobyl. They talk about Walkerton, which is my hometown, so I had a special interest in looking at that. Super, super interesting. Anyway, total sidebar. Maya, you had something else?
No, I was just going to say when the engineers are more diverse, then they are more representative of the society that we live in, and therefore the society around them will kind of embrace them because they see themselves in them, and then that will kind of like, then the cycle is going to go, like then they become a little bit more bigger, and then more people will think, yeah, we could be engineers too.
And the way you approach a problem is impacted by, like, what part of the population you're representing. I think of things that my project manager would never think of.
Yeah.
Like, I look at a problem and I think of, well, how would you walk towards that road? You know, what's that?
Cool. So we're talking diversity of age, diversity of gender, diversity of where you grew up in the world, socioeconomic diversity. Yeah.
I think what you see depends on where you stand. And the problems you see depends on where you, on your life, on your background. And very often I see new companies coming up that become very successful. They solve a problem that I didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
It isn't just how you solve the problem, it's what problems exist.
That's
So
great.
The greater the diversity, the more problems will actually be tackled.
Better at seeing problems.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I like to think in terms of inputs and outputs. So, for example, if you build a school, you know, it's good for the students. It's educational, all that stuff. But the school doesn't fall out of the sky. Somebody has to make the steel, and somebody has to cut the wood, and somebody has to make the bricks. And construction workers benefit, and the community benefits, and there's a park afterwards because there's a school ground. So you have to look at it in terms of the whole spectrum of things that are affected by a single project. And that's what I think we can help students to see.
Fantastic. So sort of the
Broad impact.
Broad impact, so the ripple effect. That's great. Okay, so I think that this is something we think about a lot of why should non-engineers care about something we're trying to create within our profession. And I think we've got some excellent examples, and that we also know that we need those partnerships in order to stimulate more creativity and impact with us, the teachers beside you being perfect examples of those partners. So we're finally going to get down to some nuts and bolts here. We have said throughout the day, this is our final sort of activity for the day, and then we're going to do some information dump, and then we'll be ready for lunch and going home. Could have flown by. We really see a key for success in the EIR program as being that collaboration between the teacher and the EIR. Your schools are all unique. Your students are unique. You know, where you are in the curriculum is unique. We really don't see that we can just give you one template and say, this is what you must do. We know there are a lot of nuances to your jobs and the way that you apply information and break it down. And so we really want to say that as long as the teacher and the EIR are both on the same page, and you know you're fulfilling this mandate of messaging engineering and inspiring the next generation in a way that works for you, we don't want to put a cap on what you're doing. So I think that we did want to give you some information, however, about what goes on currently in the program. So we did a survey of current EIRs and teachers. Bless their hearts, they responded very quickly. They gave us some great insights on what's been working for them. I'm not sure if we mentioned this or not, but Alan and I are relatively new to running this program. Even though the program is old, we are new to the program. So we thought, what better way to represent what's going on than to let these EIRs and teachers speak for themselves. So when we asked them what makes a good EIR teacher collaboration, we got in-person meetings, top of the list. Make sure you get together, establish that face-to-face rapport and communication. I have a feeling that that then leads to all three of the next things that they listed as key success factors: open and honest communication, You know, we both know we're on the same team here. No one's feelings are going to get hurt if every idea doesn't work out. We need to be able to give and receive good feedback and adjust as necessary if things don't go exactly the way we planned. That's life. That's okay. We're still moving on and pushing forward to the next thing. Consistency and following through on commitments. Unfortunately, we do see this sometime in our database. We see, you know, the EIR didn't show up or teacher never got in touch. If you can't participate, it's okay. You know, we hope that you can, but if you can't, we completely understand. Not always feasible with other work and home commitments, both on the teacher and the EIR side. We just ask that you let your match know and let us know so that your compadre can be rematched with someone else and they don't get stuck, abandoned by themselves. Establishing clear expectations also came up as a top key success factor for the relationship. We want to make sure that, you know, you're setting up things that both of you understand what's going to be done. Maybe you want to write things down, email each other, make sure that it's clear. This is when we're meeting next. This is what you're doing. This is what I'm doing. I have a feeling that as teachers and engineers, we're pretty good project managers. This is going to be very doable for you. Understanding the curriculum was another sort of other answer that came up, and having fun. Such a good reminder. So those were. This is some of the wisdom we were able to pull from our network. Next thing, what do EIRs do? 75% led a hands-on recipe activity. When I say recipe activity, I mean something like this, right? So it's got a materials list, it's got an intro, it's probably got a tie into the curriculum. So that's enhancing a lesson. Some of the 57% spoke about their own career, their discipline, or their industry, which we think is great. Again, that link to the real life, which is the value add of the engineers in the first place. You know, for example, my first job, we were helping the furnaces in the plant not break down. They kept breaking down and breaking down and breaking down, and everyone was getting really frustrated. And then I was part of a team that helped, you know, figure out the root cause and solve it. So after that, you know, the machines ran really well. So that was a good example of solving a problem. Taught some of the math or science curriculum. That was actually surprising. Almost half of the engineers. You know, I guess that's definitely, that would have been the plan with the teacher to say, okay, you take the reins and just teach this piece of the curriculum. Probably they're adding in examples, and we hope that they're adding in good messaging as well to enhance the, you know, sort of the specific ideas that the curriculum needs to cover. Shared their personal path and motivations. Remember what we said about bringing the human side to life. It's okay to share some of that stuff. You know, I wanted to be an engineer because, or this is how I felt after I graduated, or, you know, when I was your age, I used to love to, you know, build soapbox racer derbies or whatever that is. Supervised in an after-school club. That is a bit more of a time commitment. You know, not everyone has time for that. You know, it's really important. Teachers and EIRs, don't pressure yourselves to make a commitment you can't keep. So about 18% supervised an after-school club, and about 4% planned or led a field trip. So these are all options on the menu, depending on what makes sense for your students and what makes sense for your schedules. There were a few other examples that came in. One, they built cars, no big deal. Slides, presentations about sustainable development. So that's kind of cool, sort of showing the connection between engineering and technology and affecting people's livelihoods in developing countries. Interesting. So again, just a comment there. Consider the available time commitment that you both have to put into planning and delivering this material, the skills that you have available, and your interests, what you feel like doing. This should be fun. You should enjoy it. How do you go about designing the involvement? All right, well, 70% it was the teacher who got things started by saying, here are the topics we'd like to cover. Then the EIR and the teacher could work together to come up with specific activities that would cover those topics. In half of the cases, the EIR developed new resources. So that's really impressive. But, you know, engineers are some of the best volunteers I know. Put a lot of time and effort into developing new things. Developing resources together, they also did that, which could be fun, especially once you get to know each other. You learn each other's working style. You can brainstorm, knock off a new activity together if you're able to do that. Consult with the EIR website. Good to hear people are going there. And consult with other websites, almost as many. So I asked them to provide particulars. If they're going to other websites, where are you going to get your content? internet search, not so specific, but good to know. Curriculum documents, the EIR workbook, which as I mentioned, we will be distributing electronically. We're trying to be a little more environmentally friendly. If you'd like a printed copy, it's about 88 pages long. We can get it to you, but electronic, I think, probably makes a lot more sense. General information online, information about infrastructure from the City of Toronto, Toronto Hydro and OPG. So that's kind of interesting. Some public outreach materials that are available through these public institutions as well. I'm guessing they were doing something on infrastructure or buildings or electricity, maybe towers even, who knows. Library books as well. So those are some food for thought on where and how you can start designing your involvement. Yeah.
Question from an electronic engineer.
Tell me.
So is there a bias towards physical or civil engineer things because kids understand better concrete concepts, or because there's more civil engineers around than electronics?
So if I understand your question, you're saying why does there seem to be more emphasis in the curriculum on these physical hard sciences versus electrical?
Or more abstract things? Is it because
less
kids
abstract.
understand? Yeah. Is it because kids understand? Like an example,
yeah,
a tower. That's a civil engineer.
Tower, this is a house. Yeah.
Yeah, or OPG and
you know what? I'm actually going to ask the teachers in the room to comment on that. I have no idea how they decide what goes in the curriculum.
Sometimes we don't understand that.
Okay.
You don't have to say anything.
With the younger kids, it has to be concrete for them to understand. We start with concrete, and then as their reasoning and their ability to understand abstract learning develops, that happens when they're older. So even all through elementary school, they're still very much concrete learners. So you'll see, especially in the science curriculum, a lot of designing and constructing something as one of the overall expectations. So we're just looking at one in energy and one in the structures unit. And there's a structures unit every year from grade 1 to 8. So we build, it's a spiral curriculum, you keep building on it every year. You revisit certain concepts and then you build and you build and you build. And hopefully by the time they reached grade 8, they've had the foundation to be able to continue their development. And then they'll work into more abstract thinking. There is an electricity unit, I think it's still grade 5. Science curriculum is grade 6 now, so it used to be grade 5. So there is just an electricity unit as well. But in terms of developing the kids' conceptual understanding, they have to start with what they can see and touch and feel and figure out. So we're very much focused on inquiry-based learning. Again, in fact, the government is now promoting it across the curriculum. For a long time, we've been doing it in math and doing your 3-part lesson and your hands-on kind of discovery-based learning. But now they're trying to include that in all your subject areas. So it's been natural in science. You put the materials out and you give the children a chance to explore, you see what they can come up with, and then you sort of direct them into the concepts that they need to understand.
Great. So it seems as though teachers can function sort of like guardrails for us to keep us on track.
Yeah.
But I would say I encourage you to innovate and bring as much as you can of this good messaging of your own experience and your own creativity to within what the kids can handle depending on their age. And
Developmentally appropriate.
Exactly. Yeah. Developmentally appropriate. Excellent. Because that's the big hazard, right? That we run the risk of, if we overload them, we get excited, we start talking about the details that they're not yet able to process. We might even be doing damage to all this messaging, right? We're just showing them that it's confusing and they can't handle it. They switch off.
And we're moving away from that sort of hell model. They just, I am the person who imparts the knowledge to you.
Very good. Yeah.
So the inquiry-based model allows them to construct their own understanding based on their prior knowledge and skills, and then direct the questioning and the activities to build on what they're figuring out as they go along.
Cool. Does that help, Fabio? Cool.
I was just going to say that one of the things that has been helpful with though is not all things are working at one level. You have some things that are way beyond the rest of it and beyond my expertise in my office. thing that they're building. So you have everyone being with engineers in there that they can actually stimulate and enrich the curriculum for those kids that are working at that different level.
Cool.
And I can work with the kids who are in the middle or bring up the better time. There's never ever time in my day to enrich the kids that need want to do my head, like, well, we're just going to build a talking about say, sorry, that's what I can handle. You know, I think that's one of the great things to have with kids that want to know how to connect.
Yeah.
But we have to target the C kids as well, right? Like we want to spark their interest. And I'm sometimes not doing the right thing for those students to spark, and they want to go to follow the different path. But you may be able to. So yeah. Like you may not be only sharing the engineering expertise, but you are sharing, you know, so many different things as a person as well. Like it's not just engineering in residence program. Like it's more like having another person who can share your life and the expertise together.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Exactly.
Great. And to your example, I mean, maybe building a maglev train, I don't know what's involved in that exactly, but if you were able to get the materials and do a small demo, maybe that is something that would make those kids, you know, that formerly kind of didn't get it or didn't feel the enthusiasm to put the effort forward, maybe that would be something that would help them, you know, sort of perk up and up their game. Hopefully. Fantastic. Okay, good chat. So there's a couple other pieces of advice I wanted to pass along from those EIRs and teachers to you, our new inductees to the program. We asked them to give some advice to new EIRs and teachers. And these blue boxes here are mine. I decided I wanted to categorize them a little bit for you because it's a lot of text. But basically these basic themes here are around enjoying yourself, using creativity, and working as a team. I won't read every single word here. I kind of hate it when people do that to me. But you can see what people have said, and hopefully you feel sort of encouraged and inspired by that.
There's good part saying that let kids use their creativity. Like let them explore, and then you can work with them. Like don't be constrained with the activity plan.
Yeah, I like this here too. Don't overthink the project.
Yeah.
I think we engineers are really good at that. Yeah. Let's design the heck out of it.
Yeah,
right?
So I see your comment up there about specialized equipment. So
Watch it.
your window is spinning.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Oh, I'm scared.
You were saying, Kelly.
Yeah, is there any budget that is provided for the schools and for the teams?
Yeah, it's up to $200 per EIR per year. Yeah, we're going to get to that, but I figured it's come up a couple of times. Hopefully you're not just buying marshmallows.
So can I, okay, so if we have 2 EIRs, let's say, as an example, so you will get 200 each.
I think so, yes. As far as I know, that's the guideline. Yeah, and I think what was kind of interesting to me as I was compiling these was to see how these things that came unprompted, I swear, from the existing volunteers kind of align with our messaging guidelines, the things that we're trying to talk about in engineering in general. That was kind of cool. Here are some others. Being realistic, we've already touched on this. I think they cannot stress that enough. We're all busy, we're all professionals, and we want to do our best to be as enthusiastic and involved as we can, but we do want to set ourselves up for success by making realistic commitments to each other. And don't take too much on, plan together. Like this comment here about not reinventing the wheel. I would add to that to say that, you know, there are a lot of activities out there. Don't think you just have to say, oh my gosh, good, here's something I can do. There's a lot out there. You can be a little bit choosy and work to improve them. And as Maya was saying, talk to each other. You know, there's no reason that EIRs can't be buddies to each other working in different schools and comparing notes on what works and then going on the next iteration. So this one, no mystery to anyone who's done any project management, planning ahead. Good. Communicating. Have your script worked out, what the EIR is going to say, what the teacher is going to say, so that you're, before long you'll be smoothly choreographed and working like a well-oiled machine. Comments, questions? Yes, Angela.
Is this normally something that's done both the engineering project together, or more or less?
I believe that two of them are in the room together, and then they decide how they're going to divide it up. I don't know if anyone else has insight on that.
We would have to be there.
Last time was all going to be sharing the
You co-teach, or you like engineer will facilitate, engineer will lead, and then teacher support. Like I think there are different models. Like you guys can talk about.
Work it out. Depending on what your activity is.
I think something, let's put our messaging hat on for a second and think about what does it say to the kids if the teacher is there and then they step aside and go, here's the engineer. And they go off and do their marketing or something while the engineer is working. What does that say to the kids? What is the message we're sort of transmitting?
Not interesting.
Could say the teacher's not interested, that there's a divide between...
That's all.
And the kids know the teacher, right? So the teacher, you're comfortable with the teacher is the authority figure. And if you work together, you're showing how cooperation works.
And if the teacher is there, sometimes maybe when the engineer is presenting something, then there'll be a good opportunity for the teacher to jump in, perhaps, and tie that into the curriculum in a way the engineer couldn't, because she knows what she's teaching in that curriculum, right? So it's always better, I think.
That's my fear as well, because students may see engineer as an expert. Well, we'll see as an engineer as an expert, but what's my role sometimes? Like, maybe students will see that, oh, I cannot ask you a question, like, engineer knows better. So, like, that's the fear I have as a classroom teacher, because we are doing an inquiry-based learning, and, like, students bring a lot of rich questions. Even I teach grade 1, and, like, I cannot answer that. And, like, if you guys can answer all the questions, like, what's my role in science and social studies curriculum, sometimes that's my fear. Like, oh, do we have to wait for 3 or 4 weeks, like, every month, like, if you're hosting, do we have to wait for that? Like, no, we will not wait, but like students may think that, oh, you don't know?
Yeah.
Engineer knows. I have that fear.
Good point. Yeah. Thank you, Juliana.
Which is an engineer's job.
That's right.
The main job of the engineer is not to know everything, it's to know how to look for an answer.
I think the engineer can help with that as well, with the messaging of reinforcing. We all have different skills and different talents. Your teacher here is an expert in education. I'm an expert in, what do you do again? Is it wastewater? There you go, transportation, right? Like we all have our own skills to contribute, and there's no... Maybe, yeah, that's true. Expert can be
that's better for me, actually.
Yeah, and I'm speaking for myself.
That's fair.
It's common. I don't want to be seen as a teacher that's an expert in engineering, because I just want to be an engineer that came in to help show you how cool it is.
Yeah.
We can work together.
But I feel like,
an authority. I don't have any authority over the kids.
Well, not over them, but you are representing engineering in the classroom, right? So you can own that. You're representing the profession.
That's why I wouldn't want to be up there on my own.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
No, that's good. And I think, to Moya's point, I think what you're saying is that there's perhaps the perception of a hierarchy, like, oh, the engineer is better than the teacher. And what I'm saying
like
is,
in
I
certain
think,
content, right? Like especially in science,
But I think that the engineer can help out with that and just say, no one's better than anyone else. We're all just different. We all know about different things, and we have different things to contribute to the world. I saw a hand somewhere else. Was that you, Kelly? Did you have your hand up?
Well,
Javier, yeah.
I think our role is not to be experts, but to be a person who opens the door and say, look,
Aha.
You want to walk in? Let's see what's out there.
Cool. An ambassador.
Ambassador.
A helper.
A helper?
The person who turns on the lights.
Aha. Cool.
They say that a guide on the side instead of the stage on the stage.
Right.
So we don't want to be the stage on the stage saying we're the experts, here are the answers. We're
Yeah.
guides directing you to how to find it.
That's great. Wow, do I ever wish that engineering professors thought like that.
Universities have not caught up to that.
No. No. I'll tell you, this is a great little segue. This is an organization that I volunteer with called the Big Beacon. It's about a movement to transform engineering education at the secondary level, since I know we have so many education-minded people in the room, and engineers as well, who probably survived their engineering education like I did. This is just a really great read, so if you're interested, hold an engineer. No pressure. Just sharing interesting information.
Kind of like the way some of us who are a little older say we are now recovering engineers.
I am a recovering engineer. Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's hard. Yeah, I'm just going to compare it. It's really hard work.
Day and age.
Afterwards, it's a lot of fun.
But with the grade one kid, like my son, whenever he has questions with the teacher cannot answer, now he knows. Teacher goes with me in Google and
Oh yeah,
yeah.
we do that all the time, but you may be able to answer much more. Yeah, like it's okay. Like I think I'm overthinking and cautioning over that.
So my son just
Yeah.
knows everything. Grade one. Even like because we are from Brazil and we speak Portuguese, and his JK teacher for subject is going to speak Spanish. He had an argument with me that no, mommy, we speak Spanish, and no, we speak Portuguese. Now he realized that, then she checked and said, I'm sorry, I was wrong, but then we had this argument, so she's always right.
Okay, great. So we've got about 15 minutes till lunch. You can, if you feel so inclined, you can work right through lunch. You can take a break at 11:30 when the food gets here. You can keep working with your person if you have them here. Here are some things, just some sort of last set of prompts for you to think about as you start thinking about what your EIR involvement could look like over the next few weeks and months. One little logistical flag is that if you have not got your vulnerable sector screening done yet, you'll need to get that done. I think most schools require those before the engineer can appear in the classroom. That's the policy. So we don't need the vulnerable sector screening ourselves. We just need to know that it's happened. So when you get it, it should be mailed to your house. EIRs provide a copy. Do you need a copy of the original? Do you know? I think just a copy is fine for the school. It might vary school to school, but that's something to check. Get that into the school, and you're good to go. No reason you can't meet with the teacher ahead of time, though, either by email or at a coffee shop or something to get your planning started. So here we go. We recommend one school visit per month for EIR as a starting point. If you want to amp that up, no problem, but again, with a realistic starting point. What are the schools, the teachers' needs and goals? When will you meet again to review those? Where could an engineering perspective enhance the current curriculum? As you brought up earlier, Samoya. What can the EIR bring to the table that they think is especially cool? So Adelaide, the fact that you have, that you have this South American heritage, you can bring that other world view, bring examples from South America, that's super cool. How could an explanation of the EIR's own job enhance their real world understanding of a certain subject? Whenever you can, talk about that. If it doesn't apply for whatever reason, if it doesn't line up with the curriculum, that's okay too. It's perfectly fine to reference other things. Important messages, again, for this age group. This could be just broadly speaking in life in general. Maybe you want to, the teacher wants you to give a hand and reinforce something that they've been trying to get across in another way, or maybe it's something specific to the content or specific to engineering. When are you meeting next? And do either of you have some homework things you're going to do in the meantime? And if you have questions for us, obviously, we're always available. Okay, so I'm going to leave it open. If we want to discuss amongst yourselves, you're free to wander around a little bit, or you can stay here. Lunch should be here in about 10-15 minutes.
Can I ask a question?
For sure.
Does the organization have benchmarking activities to see how successful we're being out in the field?
I love that question. Not yet, but I think that's definitely where we. does the organization have any benchmarking measurement tools, anything to help us see how well we're doing?
That's the way you guys think, yeah.
I know, I love it.
Really? All this?
So we do have some
The teacher to rate, the teacher to
that we can
rate.
use with the kids. Everything else we're just sort of looking at plan versus what you actually achieved. The teacher is probably the best person to help you gauge, you know, is this going where we thought it would? Are the kids getting it? Are they getting it? I don't know. Maybe there are tests that you give them after certain, maybe not at your age group, not sure.
You go, give me the,
I guess keeping in touch with teacher will be the best guy, because each class is different and each EIR will be different, and it's really hard to say that, measure or evaluate, and we don't want to be in the situation where I'm evaluating on you, or I'm like, you know, like, sometimes I don't want to be in that situation.
Maybe sitting down and choosing and saying, hey, we want to do this.
Like, you can see what I'm saying. Definitely. Because we know how to deliver some of the lessons, because we have that.
Okay, everyone, and welcome back from lunch. We're going to run through some straight information. I think some of you are still digesting, maybe still have your mouths full. That's perfectly fine. We know these are some questions that have come up already, more straight logistical stuff. We thought we'd give you the interesting stuff first and then hit you with the more straightforward details later on. So we thought you'd like to see what the EIR program looks like at a sort of a broader level. I'm just going to make sure I remember to unmute myself. I think I did. Yes, I did. Good. Okay. So this year we put a call out for volunteers to the PEO community. That went out in September. We got a remarkable response this year. I'm not sure if Alan mentioned it, but we got 170 new engineers, PNGs and EITs interested in becoming part of the program. So huge compliment to the level of enthusiasm and engagement in the engineering community and the eagerness to get involved. So we've been doing the interviews. A lot of you had a 15-minute interview with us. We managed to get about 80 people interviewed, which is pretty good. And then going through the process of matching everyone with someone that matches the age group they want to work with, as well as the geography and a few other little concerns. We're doing the orientation right now. We're so happy to be able to welcome so many new EIRs into the program. We are hoping that the screening checks will be completed sometime in November. I know lots of you, those of you who are under the Toronto Police Service as opposed to a separate police service like Brampton or York, we need to submit your request for you. So if you haven't done so already, please do fill out a form before you go. We will submit that on your behalf. It goes straight to you. You put your home address at the bottom. It goes to you. You give a copy to the school. Then you're good to go. As I mentioned earlier, your first classroom visit can occur once the school has a copy of the check. In the meantime, we still encourage you to talk with your teacher and get started on the plan. We can't entirely predict how long things are going to take. For some people it takes longer, especially if their birth date matches someone in their system. They need to take you to another level of screening, for example, fingerprinting. This has happened to some people. We know that last year some of the screening checks took several months, which was obviously very disappointing to new volunteers who were hoping to get into the classroom. There were significant delays. However, we've spoken to them. They've assured us they've dealt with that backlog, and that will no longer be the case. It should take 2 to 3 weeks, is what they've told us. So if you're encountering a significant delay, we can definitely try and push the process along for you. Unfortunately, it's not our process. We don't own it. We could get in there and continuously improve it, lean it up if we had the opportunity. But anyway, so that's one more sort of hoop to jump through before we can really get going, both feet on the ground, working as EIRs in the classroom. So we are hoping, again, that you'll have your first meeting. If you have not done so, if you didn't get to meet your match already, or if you didn't meet him or her today, we're hoping that you will meet them sometime in the next couple of weeks. We will do a mid-year check-in in January. We know December is a very busy time for everybody. We'll be checking in with you in January. Around May, we will put out a call to say, hey, how did the year go? Remember those goals you set back in October? How were those going? How was your experience? How was our service? How can we better serve you as our customers, the people on the front lines who are out there doing the work? How can we support you better? receipts for any expenses you may have incurred. We will take those at that point and we will get reimbursed. I'll get into the details of that in a moment. The year wrap-up, that's sort of that reflective piece. We encourage you to do that amongst yourselves as well, and we will give you some prompting on how to handle that. As I mentioned, the reimbursements should be issued around that year-end time, and there'll be recognition for the participants of the program. That's kind of what it looks like. It's a yearly cycle. The support that we offer, we match you. We do our very best at least. We match you to the school to the best of our ability in a place that's going to fit and be workable for you. We give our orientation sessions. We distribute a newsletter. We talk about the messaging guidelines, which we really feel is kind of the key to going from good in terms of our programming to great, really having that desired impact that we want to see as opposed to going through the motions of delivering certain activities. We have other outreach resources for you. I've mentioned a couple of them. And we also have some community with fellow EIRs to offer for you. So I think it was I that was talking about this earlier. There is a LinkedIn group. We're still working. LinkedIn is a little funny in terms of the administration. We'll figure out how to switch over the control to us, to be administrators, and we can start conversations in there. I think most people are on LinkedIn. For those who aren't, maybe they would prefer Facebook, Twitter, or Pinterest. So there are some options in terms of social networking, as well as obviously contacting each other by email or Skype or text. Lots of different communication options in this day and age. We feel that these are the ones that we will really maintain and be responsible for, and we encourage you to all get to know each other and chat on your own time as well and share your experiences with us. Again, there are project presentations and ideas on EIR.ca. There is some content on there as well. If you have something that you've developed and you'd like to share it, for example, some people develop a PowerPoint presentation or something, send it to us. We are going to develop a system that will allow you to search that content better, so we need to sort of code it, put tags on it, upload it for you, and that should be ready to go in the next sort of 6 weeks or so. But you can send us your content anytime. Financial support we offer. There is a fund for orientation expenses, so anything associated with getting you here today, that is mileage you might have undertaken, parking, bus, rail, transit, that sort of thing. Obviously, those transportation expenses only apply if you came in person. I have the form will be emailed to you, but we can do actually one step better. Alan's printed out some forms. If you care to stick around and fill them out by hand, you can leave us with, and you have the receipts with you, you can leave them with us today. And we'll get those taken care of for you as soon as possible. Otherwise, we will email you the form either way. You will have it. You can send it to us electronically as long as we get your receipts by the 28th of November. Except for there's, right, so out of this same pool of funding, the same $50, you can claim any expenses that you undertook to get your police check done. I know some jurisdictions it's free if you say that you're a volunteer. Otherwise, there's maybe a $10 or $15 charge. If you did have to pay that to get it done, keep your receipt and we can reimburse you out of that same $50 allowance. Does that make sense? Good. There's another fund down here called the EIR fund. So this is up to $200 toward project materials per EIR per year. We have the form on the website, and we're asking that because we only submit one payment to you per year, they'll be toward the end of the year. You can submit your receipts any time, but you'll only get paid once. And you can submit them along with your receipts by June 30th, and then we can reimburse you. So there's the financial piece. Wanted to review our goals. Actually, were there questions or any? You can always follow up with us later. Yeah. You have a question?
Yes, well, not a question. I think it was raised in the other room by a teacher that, so it's not just the $200, but the school might also have its own resources that you have to ask. Well, so that might be able to supplement the
Okay, great. I'm going to pull down our goal, and we can talk about them one by one.
If anybody's in your region, there was a memo that was sent out on the legal memo. There's $600 available for funding for any presenter coming into your class. We took the bill and we get $600.
Cool.
Before elementary as
So
well?
for those online, York Region has some funding available. Not sure if any of you are listening from York Region. $600 per presenter coming in per year. You have to apply. Thank you, Adam. All right, great. What resources do we have? Did we answer that question?
Yeah.
Good. What do teacher and principal expect from the program?
Individual case.
Kind of an individual case. Anything anyone want to say on that?
I think the teacher and principal will tell us individually, right?
I hope they will.
It will vary from school to school.
Yeah.
Teacher.
EIRs can sort of act like their own representatives to find out what is the niche, the need that they're filling in.
Is it important or common for the EIR to meet with the principal, or just restricted to the teacher?
I think you'll find there'll be very little, if any, involvement from the administration. It's not like it used to be.
Well, maybe there's a problem.
All
So
over
the
your
group's
back.
just discussing that. Most of the time, the administration of the school doesn't get involved unless there's a problem. Okay, overall vision and objectives of the program. Feel free to shake your head if you didn't get that. What were any questions you had? I think we probably nailed that one. Role of the EIR in the vision. How you're carrying the message forth, how you're playing your part. Community connection, how to involve parents. Thoughts? How can we involve parents? Yes, Kelly.
If you're doing some kind of hands-on inquiry and small groups of lots of materials, you might want a couple of parent volunteers.
So parents could be invited to volunteer?
They could be invited to volunteer.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
Parents can join on field trips if you're planning any, taking them into the classroom. You can make sure that you have your own classroom website, newsletter, whatever you want. Communicate with parents regularly. Let them know just what's going on in the class. And maybe you also have engineers, parents in your classroom who might be able to lend a hand as well and be another partner.
Great idea. So communicating with parents through newsletters and websites, inviting them into the classroom to help out with sessions, inviting them to be chaperones on field trips potentially, as well as inviting, if there are any engineer parents, they might want to get involved
Also
as well.
engage the parent council in your school.
Talk to the parent council.
Funding.
Whoa.
Parent councils, pizza days, fundraising opportunities, and they always want to see that go towards education purposes.
Great. So they're talking about potential to engage with the parent council as a potentially another source of funding and support, and they love to see that money go to educational purposes. Great. Anything else? Sounds really good. This is exactly what we want to do, is to bring that message to a broader set of stakeholders. What concrete supports tasks and activities? We're good? Cover the money, cover the resources, cover the website.
And I think you said you're going to mail
The expense reports?
no, the handbook.
Yeah.
The handbook.
Yeah, you'll get that electronically.
Activity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Link to curriculum. Do you understand how that works? So the format of the sheets that you were working on during the activity is very similar to what we already have available, and there's a call out to the curriculum on it. And we, of course, want to see you taking the activity, looking at it, figuring out how you can adapt it to include even better messaging, as well as your own stories and your own sort of narrative on the activity. Yeah.
And if you, like the Ontario curriculum documents are readily available online, you can just Google Ontario curriculum. You can go right to specific expectations, like Google,
Who knew?
or I know, it's free, it's right there for you, so check to see the different expectations, specific ones and just overall.
Great. So if you Google Ontario curriculum documents, you should be able to find all of that online for specific age and grade, right? Wow. Fantastic. I thought I saw one more hand over here. Is that you, Brent?
Well, yeah, because some of the teachers want you to tie in with the STEM program, which I don't know how many of us know very much about it. I don't
The STEM coaches?
know the STEM programs for schools, so I don't know whether any of
Do you mean just the science curriculum, or something more specific than that?
Well, STEM program is science, technology, engineering, and math.
Correct.
I guess I don't know what it, other than
You're not sure
that.
what you're not sure of.
That's right, I don't know.
Incorporating all of them, finding a way to make them all work.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
if we knew what the programs were supposed to do.
Like, is there a specific program that's called STEM? Or
There-
is that just a concept?
There is a pilot going on this year within the TDSB.
I've never heard of it.
They're called STEM coaches, and they are resource teachers that visit certain schools. They've got 4 or 8 schools in their purview. They visit them once or twice per week to support STEM activities at various schools. I don't think anyone's here from that system, or are you?
I'm a teacher at Pilot STEM School.
Great.
I'm Pilot STEM class.
Oh.
So there you go. And if you're helping out with the TSB school, any STEM pilot school has been given 2 beautiful big wheelie carts of science and engineering materials with well, not everything, but it's a really good support. So there's, I think it's 60 schools across the TSB, but it's not a scary thing. All STEM is just incorporating science, technology, engineering, math across the curriculum, so it doesn't have to be
Right.
it's just it's okay.
So it's a pilot.
It's just blending.
It's a pilot, which is really cool. We have spoken to some of the STEM coaches, and they are interested in working with EIRs. So this would be a bit of a different model, not so much a one-on-one EIR to teacher relationship, but more of a STEM coach with an EIR on the side. They sort of go around as a team, not so much with, the sort of strong relationship tie between the teacher that's anchored to one group of kids and the EIR. So we're going to pilot this, especially because we have a lot of volunteers in the TDSB area, and we don't have enough schools to put them in. This is really a good way for us to get into some of those schools. But we'll keep you posted on that pilot. Do you have any comments on initially how it's going?
So far, we've met with our STEM coach twice. She was the one that told me about the program.
Oh, good.
This would be a great organization.
You may be the reason we found out about it then. Thank you.
And they had a really good orientation. It seems daunting to start, especially if you don't feel that your strength in science or the math curriculum yet.
Mm-hmm.
You really are supported. She emails us every other day just to sort of check in or say, like, here's a resource I have. And I'm going to come in and do a whole talk about Google Docs because the school isn't really doing it yet. And then, like, I'm going to give you turn off the Google Docs. And she's happy to come in and she's like completely hands-on. And I know she has other things that she's working with, but don't actually have some time to make us feel like she cares about us and checking with us all the time.
So we're just talking through some examples of what STEM coaches can do. This is a pilot within the Toronto District School Board.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, great. Activities for younger students, kindergarten to 2nd grade. I know it came up a few times. What did we decide?
Yeah, we didn't come up with like some examples, but we changed contact info so that when we come up with some ideas, we can share them.
Terrific. Okay, great.
And the other group had a grade 1 example that we're going to get a copy of, so maybe you could like one as well.
Yeah, those 3 little kids.
Yeah, we don't have that example in here.
You bet.
Same little thing that is there's an idea you can grow sugar crystals.
Oh yeah.
You get you keep looking at the jars for the jam jars. Yeah, it's an mason jar. And you fill up with sugar and water, syrup, and you just hang a paper clip from just a pencil from the top, not sure get sugar crystals. That's a little pop on the paper clip, so it's a little peanut crystal growth. And salt and
We eat the
Yes, let me get back here, Haley.
So in our group, we talk a lot about how you can use a lot of those resources. I know online there's 50 to 100 resources, and even though it might be a grade 7 to 11, you have to take that to the younger grade.
Fantastic.
The activity either it could become a demonstration instead of a hands-on activity, and then you can discuss it with the different clients to that curriculum or that age.
Fantastic. So we're just talking about taking activities that are aimed at an older age group, say grade 7 to 12, and adapting them for a younger age group by extracting the principles and sort of using them more simply in the activity. Great suggestion. Yeah.
I just found out that
the first Lego League, the Lego Robotics organization, has a grade 1 to 3 program now.
Okay. First Lego League has a grade 1 to 3 program now.
Yeah. And TNT, every STEM kit in an elementary school is being given like a Lego box.
Mine's still upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. So, and robotics is
Fabulous.
trickling down to
Who doesn't love Lego?
Right?
Exactly.
Well, there are kids you can get in the store, the Toys R Us and so on. But they're also hanging out by the first robotics. I'll be talking about that after.
Afalam. First
Lego
First
League.
Lego League, Junior First Lego, there's First Tech League, and then FRC, and then First Robotics.
Different clubs that we're talking about,
Mm.
and here's something for the club maybe at
Yep.
the time that they're available. So we get the little ones learning before going to middle school and competing.
Cool. Timeline. We talked about timeline to everyone's satisfaction. Good, good. What are we imparting to students? Excellent. Check, check, check. Tips to run an effective workshop. We do have some further resources we can forward to you. I would say, though, your best resource is the teacher. They know how to make things effective. They know how to make kids pay attention. So I think that the EIR, working together with the teacher, is probably going to be the best way to help them learn. Implementation models. I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what this means. This was yours, wasn't it? You expressed what you meant by that?
Either you're implementing mock grades or it's a single class or what other types of models.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thoughts?
Depends.
Yeah, it depends on school.
Yeah.
It's either a question where equity of opportunity. Okay, I know.
Giving
There
all the
are
grades a chance?
110 grade 8 students in my school, and there's no way under the sun I'm going to offer this to all 110. That would be equitable, however, impossible to do effectively. If you try and do that, you're going to have 110 kids who learn mediocre information, rather than 26 kids who get excellent information.
You're looking at 500 students.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Don't even bother.
No.
Unless you've got 5 EIRs and 5 teachers who are dedicated to that implementation. You can't do it on your own.
No.
We can help you out with more EIRs. For the most part, we have lots of volunteers to place in schools, but I think we would become concerned with overwhelming the teacher potentially, or if we had, you know, just one teacher trying to communicate with 5 different classes, that would be tricky. The expression "walk before we run" came up in our group, and so we thought maybe that's a good way to start. You know, if it does become feasible and there is a need for more EIRs, we can certainly send them to you, and you can find creative ways potentially of presenting a workshop, and then, you know, sort of going, iterating and doing it again in another classroom of the same age grade, in the same time slot. Again, consecutive time slot in the same morning, for example. Okay, fantastic. Last one. Who owns the IP? Did we talk about that? Okay, it has an answer. The answer is that as part of your participation in the program, you agree to share the IP, the intellectual property, of anything that you create with other EIRs. So technically the program will own it. We have the right to put it into our workbooks, etc., and distribute to other EIRs and teachers in the future. And hopefully everyone's okay with that, because we all share the same common goal of creating good content that's going to go out and inspire the next generation.
So is there an expectation in whatever we do in our schools that we're going to provide you a copy of it?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends if it's something that you feel, hey, this worked really well, I want to share it. We would welcome taking it. It's not a requirement, like we must see it. It's more like,
I just wonder based on the question.
If you submit it to us, we have the right to use it in the future. Yes. Cool. Okay, so we batted 1,000. We got all of our goals. That's great. Anything else coming up for people as we're having this conversation? Yeah, Adam.
Thank you to both of you for facilitating this morning.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
It's been very purposeful and well organized. Thank you.
Very well.
I'd also like to add, I really appreciate the enthusiasm that
you put into it, and
Saturday.
stimulates us to do a better job at it.
Well, likewise, Brian. It's been absolutely a pleasure to talk with and get to know each one of you and to really see your passion and your dedication. I feel really, really lucky to get to do this as my job. I think it's amazing. And I don't know, you want to say anything, Alex?
I also feel very.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, so we had a few things we want to blast through on our bike rack. I'll go through maybe the last three first, and then I'll throw it to George, who has a little announcement he wanted to share with everybody. One is WeMadeIt.ca came up as a conversation item in our group. It is an amazing website made for teenage girls by teenage girls about engineering. So it's a pilot, it's a project under Ryerson. There's a consortium of universities and that have gotten together to run a 4-year program to inspire more women to get interested in engineering. And 4 universities are involved. Hydro One is behind it. And so this is just one of the things that they've done. WeMadeIt.ca. It's very cool. If anyone in Toronto, I think we already talked about the vulnerable sector screening forms. Most people have already filled one out. If you haven't, you can always come to the office later, but you're here now, you might as well do it now. And there are some EWB materials for your interest. We told you a little bit about Engineers Without Borders. We don't want to push it on you, but we'd love to chat with you some more. If you want to take any materials from just outside this door here, please feel free to do that on your way out.
And if you have any questions, you can definitely ask myself or Erica. I've been with the organization for quite a while, and I know most of the aspects about it. I haven't been overseeing myself, but I know a lot of people who have. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask.
That's right, as well as questions about PEO. Since this is a PEO program, we are not ourselves PEO employees, but we do run this program for PEO. We're a very close partner with them. Definitely very grateful for the opportunity to work with them and represent them. So if you have PEO questions, we can link you to the right person, most likely. I'm also a member of my own PEO chapter, so I can talk with that hat on as well. George, tell us.
I'm going to be talking about another organization parallel to the EIR and so on. It's First Robotics. Now, I got an email 2 days ago announcing that there are scholarships available. There are about $20 million worth. Oops. Oh. There are about $20 million worth $20 million worth of scholarships available for grade 12 graduating kids going into an engineering university. And it basically boils down to about 1 in 4 kids who apply get a scholarship. And those scholarships are substantial. They're in the order of $10,000. You know, so it's well worth the effort. But the condition is you are in one of the First Robotics teams. Now, right now, there are over 5,000 teams internationally, but only about 2,700 or so active teams. So some of the early teams already fell off by the wayside type stuff. Of course, most of the teams are in the U.S., but there are teams as far away as Israel, Germany, Australia, Japan. There is even one team in China that has to move to competition centers in Japan and so on. There are over 50 regional competition centers. In Ontario, there are 5. Now, I have the privilege of being a judge in 4 of those 5 competitions. So I get to see firsthand what the kids can really accomplish if they put their mind to it. Now, the competition usually is a challenge handed out in January. The first Saturday in January, the kids find out what the challenge for the season is to build a robot, to do a specific task. They have 6 weeks to design, build, test, sequester the machine, and then ship it off to the first competition center. That's the next opportunity they get to see it, okay, the machine. A couple of years ago, it was a frisbee throwing exercise. I've been participating in it for the last 10 years, and It's being announced through the Ontario Science Centre in person. So in the frisbee throwing exercise, I went there, blinkers on, etc. No way they can come up with a solution. But if you think of how do you throw a frisbee, right? I came to the first competition. There were 46 teams there. There were 48 solutions. All of them working. It really amazed me. And every year I get amazed that way. So the thing is, Ontario actually has quite a lot of schools involved. There are even 2 all-girls schools. And one of the all-girls schools is SWAT. I like their logo. It's a girl holding a wrench. You know, it's girl with wrench, watch out. You know, that type of outfit. It was started about 12 years ago, for example, by 2 grade 11 girls, and they didn't have in their school a science program. But because of those 2 girls starting that team, they ended up with an excellent science program now. You know, so that's how the kids can motivate school boards even. By the way, it's St. Mildred's School of whatever, I don't know the full name. It's called SWAT.
So how can people find out more about
Okay.
robotics?
Well, they can contact me, number 1. Number 2, you can go on to the usfirst.org website. There is a Canadian equivalent. It's way too long to remember the hyperlink. But you can always contact me. I can get you all that information. Now, what was advertised recently, like within the last couple of days, was that there are grants available for new teams. Now, the question is, of all the teachers in this group, how many of you have a FIRST robotics team in the school? You? Which team?
I don't have it. Another one of my colleagues does. She does the Lego portion of it.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% sure if it is FIRST robotics. I've never heard that term used, but it is definitely a Lego competition which starts in January.
So we're just talking about the
They come up
different
with a solution and a project at school.
schools who's got a Lego FIRST robotics team.
The first robotics competition was developed by Professor Woody Flowers of MIT, Professor Emeritus, and by Dean Kamen. Dean Kamen is the inventor of the Segway. Know that crazy motorcycle? But he also invented an iron lung. So he decided that there has to be some sort of a sports activity associated with being a nerdy engineer. Basically, okay? Well, we recognize we're all nerds. Okay? That's the part of it. That's the fun of it. So for first-year teams, but that's only FRC level, there are grants available to get them, to kickstart them into the thing. So if you have some interested kids in the class, get them enrolled fast so they can get so they're ready in January when the challenge is announced.
Okay, great. Thank you, George. That's great information. And if you don't mind, we'll send, is it okay if we send your email address? Sure. And we can forward a couple of the links that you
just put it in the subject line first robotics.
Got it. And we've got a conversation from the chat here. Sophia, who's an EIR in London, she's recommending A New Cool by Neil Bascom. That's what they discuss as FIRST robotics. There you go. Little crowdsourced idea there.
usfirst.org, they have a JK to grade 3 Lego.
This is the junior Lego.
Great.
Just go to usfirst.org under programs.
Awesome.
As I like to always say, I love getting run over by those robots. And it's fun, really fun.
Okay.
We might just have that also in our newsletter. So the other group, I mentioned that we intend on having a newsletter every month.
No, not every month.
We will try.
I
I will.
Alan's going to do a newsletter. All right.
And
There will be newsletters.
we'll try and include as much with just the happenings on within the program, as well as any sort of side ventures such as robotics or anything like that.
Cool. Okay, so thank you. There's just another comment here about First Robotics from Ellen Bruce. I think she's in Ottawa.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, please, Fabio.
They're talking about a coach portal. What do we need to do if we wanted to get access to the resources?
Well, most of the stuff is available. The only thing that's protected, I would need to log in with that requirement as a judge. You have the individual team at teams have their own logins, and you would, if you're a mentor to a team.
Guys, I'm just going to ask you maybe finish that conversation up offline, just because maybe we'll wrap up first and let you continue that. We just wanted to thank all of you, back at you. We think that the engineers and EITs that have stepped forward, we're so impressed with all of you, your passion and your generosity with your time. We think that you're all excellent ambassadors. That's why you're here. You've been selected out of a big pool to be the first ones that will step forward into classrooms as new members of the program. So welcome and thank you. We also wanted, that's great, little chat going on. We also wanted to say thank you to the teachers. We know that your jobs are really crazy, hectic and busy at the best of times. Congratulations for being so forward-looking and open and innovative. Thank you for partnering with us. You're really important to this program. We literally couldn't do it without you, so we're really glad that you're here. And thank you, everyone, for your commitment to creating this change with us. We hope you're going to have a great year, have fun. We are here to support you. If you have questions, if there's connections we can provide for you, I have a feeling we're going to be sending you a ton of information and also maybe bugging you sometimes to get feedback and hear how it's going. We just want to know that you're okay and that everything's going the way that we thought. We're very eager to learn from you and your experiences as well. So I think that is it. We wanted to let you know you're very welcome. Oh, thank you for the web option. Thank you, Dee, for tuning in. Here are our contact emails. Please get in touch with us. And as I mentioned, we can provide you information about the EIR program as well as about other aspects of the PEO. Sorry?
Or EWV.
And EWV. And thank you so much for coming out today. You're welcome to stick around, chat with each other, drink some orange juice. But that does bring our proceedings to a close. Thank you so much.
Thank you.